The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. We're decked out in our team's colors as we are getting set for a little Monday afternoon football, which is going to be weird, and we'll get to that.
Countdown to kickoff, 5 hours.
Yeah, we'll get to that later on, and we'll have a little bit of fun with that later on. But we do have some local things to talk about. Actually, some lot of local things to talk about. Let's get into high school football first, and I suppose we can hang on with celebrating Jason Kokrak, the Warren JFK graduate, for doing
we'll have
something.
A lot of celebration for that on Wednesday when we talk to Brian Tolman.
Yes, absolutely we will. But it goes without saying. We have been, if you're a golf fan, you've been waiting on this one forever and a day. He's one of the top golfers, not just in this country, but in the world. And finally, Jason Kokrak gets his first PGA victory, and I could not be happier for the guy.
It's because I picked him last week. That's
true.
I mean, that happened to me twice earlier this season.
You're right. The after effect of all of this. By the way, did you see the payout? If someone bet $1,000 or bet $100 on it, he would have gotten $8,000. And there were a ton of people apparently in Sin City that bet $50 on Kokrak to win. They just pocketed $4,000 on a $50 investment. Yeah, that's pretty solid stuff. We begin the show with high school football, and boy, I'll say this: by and large, if you take a look D2 through D7, by and large, the coaches, they did a pretty nice job of picking the top seeds, because by and large, most of the top 8 seeds in Division 2, it's all of them. In Division 7, I believe it's all but one. By and large, most of the top 8 seeds are alive and well, and now we get into the, quote, normal portion of the playoffs, where the first 2 rounds were kind of play-in games thanks to COVID.
The reason that is, we talked to Ron Johnson. Most of the coaches voted based on the computer rankings, and 1 through 8 is pretty solid. You can't really go. That's where we saw a lot of upsets in the first week, because when you're picking seeds 10 through 26, that's kind of the toss-up, because so many of these teams are pretty even across the board. But 1 through 8, especially at this level, that those teams really elevate themselves above the rest. So I think that's why we're seeing, after the second week of playoffs, it start to go into the first 8 seeds, and a couple of those non-8 seeds are because of COVID-19.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and one of the games that involving in our region is the reason why we are going to have a matchup where one of the lower seeds is going to waltz right through into the quarterfinals, and I believe it's Division 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Chagrin Falls.
They waltz into the quarterfinals because Mogador Field had a COVID outbreak. So unfortunately, they get the Duke, and the 7 seed gets to stay at home.
That was last minute too. They canceled that game Saturday morning, I believe.
Yeah.
Before that, so. Hopefully, on Chagrin Falls side, hopefully they handle that properly and they do their best to kind of get, because now they haven't played in a week. They have another bye week.
There you go.
They played to get into that game though, right? So
Yes,
it's like
they
play
did.
and
They
then
were a
bye
high
and-
seed, so high in terms of low. So
So-
let me just say they were a low seed,
Now
and they had to play in. So this would be their only bye.
They got to handle not having a game and just kind of roll with the punches. It's out of their control, so they have to just say, "Hey, we have the right to play Poland now." And
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You brought up Ron Johnson's name a couple of minutes ago. I was doing the Crestview game, and Ian O'Brien, who did a magnificent job with the camera and a magnificent job as a color commentator filling in for Larry Scragg on Saturday night at Crestview, when we were in the middle of a commercial break, he said, "Ron, I don't know if this score is right." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Salem's beating Poland 21-0. He said, "Is Dana right on this?" And I said, "Dana's normally spot
he was
on
right.
all of his stuff, and we got to give Dana credit anytime we do scores, because he's the guy that's fishing the scores out. I'm not going to be like some other entities, we won't mention any names, you know who you are, that will not give credit where credit's due because you're too lazy to go get your scores, and then on top of it, you don't figure out or give the guy credit who gives you the scores. I'm not like that. So obviously we're in Crestview. We need to have scores from other games. Dana Balish does a phenomenal job at TV21. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, holy crap. And then it didn't surprise me because Ron Johnson, man, he's a good coach.
We talked to Ryan Williams on the Dickey Electric postgame show on Saturday, and he said flat out, they came out with stuff in the first half that we never seen on tape.
Yeah.
So Ron Johnson brought out little wrinkles that Poland was not ready for.
Yep.
And they jumped on him early. But props to Poland's coaching staff for realizing that really quick, making the adjustments on the fly in the locker room at halftime, and then not letting them score another point in the second half. So
See, that's where the
props
money's
to both
made.
coaching staffs.
You know, that's where the money made. Okay, you want to sit back and start talking or start doing some stuff that people haven't seen in the first half, and you jump out to a huge lead. Okay, that's all well and good. Now it's up to the team that's getting beat by 3 touchdowns. All right, what are you going to do adjustment-wise? And I think that's where Poland wins the ball game. And I think now you look at this and you're thinking Poland is more than capable of getting out of this region because they have coaches that are able to adjust, and they are able to get out of a 21-point hole against a pretty good Salem team. Forget about the record. Listen, they got beat by West Branch and Canton South at the beginning of the year when this team, very young team, was not ready for anything. They were going up against 2 juggernauts in their own division. They wound up winning a ton of games and was on a roll toward the postseason. I thought this game would be tough for Poland. I had no idea it was going to be a dogfight.
And they dusted off Struthers in the first round of the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I mean, Struthers is a solid team. They just went.
Yeah.
So it was impressive from Salem. I think the difference in the game was Poland has playoff experience.
There you
All
go.
those guys, they went to the state semifinals last year. They've been there. They've done that. They've been on the stage. And they want to get back to that because they feel like they should have won that state semifinal. And to be honest, they probably should have won that state semifinal.
This is going to be really interesting because you got a couple of local games on Saturday night in D4. Chagrin Falls again. They come in as a 10 seed. They waltz into the quarterfinals thanks to COVID. They'll be taking on a Poland team in Poland. On paper, this doesn't look to be much of a game, but then again, we're already into the quarterfinals. That mantra goes out the window. Maybe, just maybe, you could get one out of hand and go sideways, but I wouldn't bet on that. The game that I think is going to be really interesting, Ursuline goes to West Branch to take on a really good West Branch football team.
It's on grass, and
Yeah.
Ursuline on grass. You know, they don't. What's this stuff?
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be. I think Ursuline's defense is what's gonna be highlighted because West Branch has a prolific offense with Brock Hillier that no one's been able to slow down this year. So can Ursuline's defense do it? And it's funny because can you believe we're talking about a game as West Branch being the favorites when West Branch was 2-8 last year, and we're talking to them favorites over Ursuline?
Yeah, and
I
how
mean,
many
seed wise, they're favorites. I mean, it's just kind
Yeah.
of it's mind boggling.
How many people, though, outside of Beloit and outside of that part of the Mahoning Valley are going to honestly say, yeah, West Branch is the favorite over Ursuline. They are higher. They have the higher seed. Most of the people in the Mahoning Valley are going to sit back and go, oh, Ursuline all the way. The Ursuline will go in there and they'll take care of business. Let me just say this: slow down, because if you haven't seen this team play, this team being West Branch, you may want to watch this team before you start with that mantra. Yeah, that's a good team.
You know what? Internally, Ursuline better not have that mantra. Like, okay, we're Ursuline. We're going to go take care of business. Like, we're the favorites. We have to go take. No, you better go into that game as the underdog, because I think that mentality is the only way Ursuline wins. I mean, if the Ursuline Irish go into that game with the arrogance that we're Ursuline and we're going to go take care of business and we're the favorites, that might come back to bite them, because West Branch, not a lot of people have seen them this year. And we talked about this. They're in the EBC. They play a lot of teams out of the local area. I don't think a lot of teams really know about how good this West Branch team is, and Ursuline's going to find out when they watch film, I'm sure, just how much of a daunting task this is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to take an effort. There's no two ways about that. And these, by the way, these games are Saturday. We haven't even gone into the Friday games yet, and we will in a little bit. Division 5. You wondered when South Range was going to wake up from their 1 week plus siesta called a bye week, and it didn't take too long for South Range to figure it out. They blew out Cadiz Harrison Central 55-14, and they'll stay at home, and they're going to take on a Beechwood team that again, they're undefeated, and they're a typical suburban Cleveland type of team that's hard-nosed and ready to play football.
And the best thing that could have happened to South Range is they fell behind. Someone took a lead on them, because there's no smelling salt in football like being down.
Yeah.
Because they woke up as soon as Harrison Central went ahead, like that. It was like South Range is here to play, and they scored, I believe, the next 42 points to win that game.
Yeah, that was that's kind of the equivalent of being knocked down in boxing. Right. A flash knockdown where you're hurt, but you're not hurt. Your ego's more hurt than anything else.
I think if South Range would have stayed ahead at that moment, it probably would have been close for a lot longer. Because I don't think they would have really, we're not playing well, but we're still up. So let's just,
Yeah.
Once we're behind, that's the wake-up call.
Yeah. One thing that was not in doubt whatsoever at Crestview Saturday night, I thought, okay, how is this team going to respond having the week off? How is this team going to respond? Because a lot of teams with the week off have not come out and started out fast. That wasn't the case at Crestview. They started out fast. They scored points on their first 2 drives, and they didn't look back. And that defense was as good as I have seen all year long. Southeast did not get 100 yards of total offense. I would have probably had better statistics had their uniforms been somewhat better. That's another story for another time. We'll get into that. That's just a sin that you wear uniforms where broadcasters can't see numbers at all, and that's a pet peeve of mine. But Crestview was legit Saturday night. They got everything rolling. And they're going to go into Garrettsville Garfield and take on a team in the G-Men that got things rolling against Cardinal Mooney. And again, this is not artificial turf. This is grass. Crestview has to make that adjustment again. They're 1-1 on grass this year. We'll see what happens.
You just hope for nice weather this time.
Well, yeah, you better not be in a monsoon like week 1 against Champion. But long-range forecast, and again, I don't trust any of those long-range forecasts, but the long-range forecast for Saturday is apparently reasonably nice, mid-50s for a high, so they should be in pretty decent shape.
I was really wondering if Crestview's bye week was going to take away that angry attitude I was talking about last week that Crestview was on, where they looked still upset about that loss in week 1, and it didn't. They were still playing. Like, you could watch the tape, and beyond X's and O's, they just had this attitude. Every hit seemed a little bit harder. They were controlling the line of scrimmage. They were just an angry football team.
Yeah.
Still.
a little too much. there was too much talking going on. When they took a 33-0 lead, there was way too much talking going on. And I finally said, look, enough is enough. You started on the 25-yard line with a kickoff, and then you plaster a kid, a real hard hit,
Right.
And then do some chirping after that, and the flag comes down for another 15-yard penalty. And I just said, look, Coach Cusick.
Was the flag for the hit or for the talking?
It was for the talking after.
Okay, so the hit was completely
the hit
legal.
was completely
Hard,
legal.
but
It
legal,
was
man.
hard and it was legal. And as soon as the kid got up, they started chirping, and I'm like, okay, Coach Cusick
It's, you know,
has to get this thing under control, because you
It's-
just can't allow that.
It's hard for kids to make a hit like that and not get up and but you have to control your emotions.
Exactly.
And we're talking to 15 to 17-year-olds, like, you don't make that kind of hit too often, like where it's perfectly legal and you
Yeah.
smash them.
Oh, that was good.
And the emotion says get up and like let them know that you just put them on the ground.
Yeah.
Maybe in a close game when you need momentum, that's okay. But in a blowout, you just kind of want to act like you hit them before and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that was. But by and large, I thought Crestview was rock solid, and they're going to have to play a repeat performance, because Garrettsville Garfield is a very tough team.
Yeah,
No two ways about
we
it.
talked about off the air. That's a game where Mooney probably feels like they let that game go. And I know, Steve Leslie's a Mooney grad. He feels like they let that game go. There were several plays that could have went Mooney's way that didn't. And unfortunately for them, Garfield took advantage. They're a winning program. So when you give them opportunities to win, they know how to do it.
Division 7 as we close, or I'm sorry, Division 6 as we close out Saturday night. There's a trio of games. Now, honestly, there's only 2 games from the YSN family. St. Thomas Aquinas will be taking on Springfield over in Tiger Country. Don't sleep on St. Thomas Aquinas. That is a very good Catholic high school out of Stark County who schedules up, and they will be ready for the task. Now, I don't know if they're talented enough across the board to beat Springfield, but their non-conference schedule, that's rock solid.
Springfield has not once this season limped into a game or overlooked an opponent, and I don't think they're going to do it this week either. And man, I can't tell you how impressed I am with Springfield this season, because everyone knew coming into the year they were head and shoulders above the MVAC, but they didn't act like it. They gave every opponent the respect they deserved, and they've not at once looked like they were in trouble. So impressive season from Springfield. I don't think that'll stop anytime soon.
Okay, we probably need to give all kinds of props right now to John Armini and the LeBray Vikings, because there were a lot of people. Now, I never once uttered this on the show or otherwise, but there were a lot of people that thought, okay, Brookfield slapped them around in the regular season 35-7. There's no way LeBray is able to even it out and go on to the next round of the tournament. Well, actually, LeBray was able to do it. High-scoring game. If you had 100 points and bet the under 100, you lose. But LeBray gets the victory, and they go up to Wycliffe to take on a really, really good Wycliffe program. Look, as long as LeBray doesn't rest on their laurels and doesn't come out flat as a pancake, which could very well happen, because this is an emotional victory against a very big rival. That tends to happen. If Coach Armini can get this Vikings team to play solid football without a flat start, they have a shot against Wycliffe.
And the mentality they should have, and I don't know if Armini has this philosophy, I'm sure he does, you celebrate for 24 hours and then you get back to work. So you celebrate that win on Sunday. As the players, on the coaching staff, they're watching film at 7 a.m. on Sunday. That win's already gone. Players celebrate on Sunday. Monday, that win means nothing now. You got it. It's good. It's gone. Focus on your next opponent.
Yeah, and hopefully LeBray will be able to do that, because Wycliffe, they're undefeated for a reason. That's a solid team. Again, in the Cleveland suburbs, they're going to be blue-collar, tough, and ready to go. All right, those are the Saturday games. We get the Friday games that we still have to start talking about.
Let's go back to that Brookfield game real quick. Okay, Brookfield scores late with 10 seconds ago, the quarterback makes a John Elway-esque leap into the end zone, helicopters.
Yeah.
They go for 2 for the win instead of kicking it to overtime.
I'd take it to overtime. I mean, that's just me, and that's
Right.
not. And I'm not gonna say, well, you've got hindsight. No, I said that as soon as I saw the touchdown. I said, kick the extra point, go to overtime. You got all the momentum in the world. You got a shot to beat them in overtime. Don't shortchange this right here.
And then obviously the temptation on the other side is they haven't stopped us all day. I mean, we have 55 points.
Yeah.
They're not going to stop us from going 2 yards. And
Well-
unfortunately for Brookfield, they did stop you for 2 yards.
Yeah, it's look. I mean, it's not something that everyone should look and, oh, well, that's pretty obvious. No,
I get
it's
it.
not,
Like,
nothing's obvious in that
You
in that
want
regard.
to end the game as quick as possible because you got a game next week, but
Sure.
you got to win this game first. I think they were looking ahead, trying to make them as healthy as possible for next week before they won this week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, there's no wrong answer. Unfortunately, because it didn't work out for you, it's perceived to be a wrong answer.
Yeah, I'm not one that buys into because something just didn't work means it's a bad decision.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll just use the NFL real quick. The Houston Texans this week, they went for 2 to try to make it a 2-possession game. A defender made a nice play, got the hand on the ball, batted it away, incomplete, and then Titans go tie it up and win it in overtime. I still think that's the right decision to go for 2. It just didn't work out.
Well,
Sometimes
I mean,
it doesn't work out. It doesn't mean it
look,
was a wrong decision.
if you're up by 7 and you have an opportunity to kick the extra point and go up by 8, I'm going to do that every day and twice on Sunday because that's going to tell me, all right, even if Tennessee scores, you still got to do a 2-point conversion to tie the game.
You have the best player on the field in Deshaun Watson. You trust him more than you trust your defense.
He's the best player on the field.
Yeah, he is.
Well-
but between Titans defense and Houston's
Okay,
offense,
okay. I was gonna, yeah.
he's the best player on the field.
Yeah,
right
okay. Well, yeah, that's.
And-
I was going to say, Mr. Henry might have something to say about that because, yeah, the man with the animal tail that looks like an animal's tail, but it's
Someone that
actually
big.
his hair in the back of his head.
Someone that big shouldn't run that fast.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. That's all I got to say. We're going to take a time out. When we come back, we will preview D2, D3, and D7. And we'll also have the furnace shut down. That's all coming
I
up.
feel like we're at an airport.
Yeah, we're in the airport. Hold on a second. Flight 317, you're going to be delayed by about 10 minutes. We have to do the de-icing. It's now cold outside. We'll have to do the de-icing, and then we'll be taking off in about 10 minutes. 330-886-0813. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. We're back in a bit. I'll tell you, D2, D3, D7. This is going to be a lot of fun. The Revenge Tour, Part 2 in Canfield. Part 2, the sequel.
Part 2.
That's coming up Friday night as well. As Canfield will be taking on a team that has been. Yeah, they've not been kind to Canfield in the Mahoning Valley for sure. We'll take a time. I'll be back to start talking the Friday end of things. And that is after this timeout. It is a Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby boy is recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley
afternoon. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
in Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Monday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig as we go into the Friday preview of the regional quarterfinals. We go to Division II, Region 5. Okay, it's a local matchup, but it's not a local matchup with two teams here. It's a local matchup geographically, but it isn't because Harding is not in the YSN family. Nonetheless, Harding and Fitch, this is a rematch of a regular season game in which Fitch was able to beat Harding in a really, really well-played game by both clubs. And, man, this rematch, I know this is what Harding has wanted, and I know that Fitch, if they want their goal of meeting Hoban in the regional championship, well, they have to win 2 more games. So Fitch is on a roll. They did a real nice job knocking out Twinsburg 35-0. Harding looked incredible, knocking off Maple Heights 38-6. This could be a fun game.
Yeah, I think it will be fun. I have all the respect in the world for everything that Harding does. I think they're a top-notch program. They work the right way. They do everything the right way. But when I watched that game against Austintown Fitch, everything that made that close was self-inflicted from Fitch. You know what I mean? Like everything that made that game close was self-inflicted mistakes by the Falcons. And if I know anything about TJ Parker, that's not going to happen again. So it's going to be interesting to see because I think they could go 2 ways. I think Fitch could roll or it'll be close. I don't think Warren Harding is going to roll over Fitch by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that's a possibility. But I think if Fitch gets momentum early, it's going to be a long day for Warren Harding.
Here's where we talk about momentum within a game. All right, now let's talk about momentum before the game even starts, and that's or adjustments, I'm sorry. We talk about adjustments being made at the end of the first half. Poland making an incredible adjustment, down 21-0. Salem did some stuff Poland didn't see on film. They turn around, make the adjustments. Salem doesn't score another point the rest of the game. All right. Fitch and Harding have seen each other. They've already played one game. So now both coaching staffs have an opportunity to make some adjustments based on the previous time they played each other earlier in the game. Do you think anyone's going to come out and say, you know what, we're going to do a lot of things different here and just basically force them to readjust their adjustment from the first meeting?
You got to be careful. What Salem did really well is they just little tiny wrinkles. They didn't change a lot of things scheme-wise. Just little tiny wrinkles. Maybe bringing someone in motion when you don't usually bring them in motion on that formation. Little things like that. If you try to overthink this and think we're gonna throw something that they've never seen at them, then you get yourself into trouble by overcoaching almost. So there's a happy medium. I think Salem handled it really well when we're talking about what they did. You know, they saw what they were doing on film, and they did a little tiny things different that threw Poland off a little bit.
And you bring up the danger part of this. Look, it's tough enough to do that in the pros, or in college. We're talking high school kids, which is a far cry from the pros or college. It's something that is next to impossible to do in terms of the throw out everything we did the first game and let's do a re-game plan and do things that we haven't done all year long. That's kind of next to impossible when you're dealing with high school kids.
You just find little things you can do a little bit differently that might throw off the look, the pre-snap look. Hey, I'm going to bring on defense, I'm going to bring this linebacker up. I blitzed all the time. I'm going to drop him in coverage this time. So the quarterback thinks for sure that guy's blitzing. He drops back. He throws. It might be an interception.
Yeah.
Little things like that. And T.J. Parker, he does a great job with these kids knowing who they are. They know their identity. They've known their identity since week one. So you don't change who you are. You say, hey, this is what we are. This is what we do best. Try to stop it.
Well, both teams are well coached. I mean, Steve Arnold and the coaching staff at Harding is outstanding. As we mentioned, T.J. Parker, his coaching staff has done a tremendous job with Fitch. I've, as people it is our I don't want to say our DNA, but it's something that media people love to do. We love to look forward and look into the future.
I think we've been looking.
We were all looking to see. Oh, wait a second. Now, if these two teams, they win, man, they'd be hooking up in the regional quarterfinals. Well, here we are, regional quarterfinals. And Fitch and Harding are going to be playing each other, and I think this has the makings of being one of, if not the best game in the Valley this weekend.
Right after that first matchup, everyone kind of said we can't wait to see these two teams square up again, and we knew that it was probably going to happen in the playoffs. So here we are. It's round 2, and hopefully the sequel is better than the original. Doesn't happen a lot in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in sports.
Well, this one, if you're going to be better, you got a really high ladder to attain, because that regular season game was a great game between the two teams. Speaking of hopefully having a great game, that would be the D3 game at Canfield, and Canfield is on a revenge tour. Well, this past weekend, they were able to knock off Kenston 28-10. The revenge tour part 2 is the matchup with Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. Akron St. V's has been the thorn in the side not only of Canfield, but
everybody.
Pretty much everyone. Specifically Hubbard during the L.J. Scott and George Hill years. They were the team that prevented Hubbard to go to the state semifinals. St. V's has done the same thing to Canfield on a couple of occasions. So Canfield has an opportunity to exercise some demons. They're 7-0 on the campaign. They will be hosting 5-2 Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. This is going to be a tough game, but Canfield's more than capable of getting this victory.
This Canfield team's different, Ron. There's something about them on film when you watch them. I mean, we just had Richie Giuliano in the studio for a minute. He calls their games. He can tell you firsthand. There's just something a little bit different about this Canfield team than years past. They're a little bit more physical. They're more mentally tough, that's for sure. And Chris Samarone, I mean, my word, he's
a beast.
Monster on both sides of the floor, both sides of the field, I should say.
He's a lot like his dad.
Yeah,
and his dad was a solid offensive lineman.
It's an
for
athletic
YSU.
family. It's all around, whether it be his sister who did a lot of things on the basketball court or himself. He's a great linebacker, but he's also a great running back. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. You got to match the physicality of Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, and I don't think they're going to have a trouble doing that.
It'll be a fun game. It'll be an awful lot of fun.
Which makes it a lot more comfortable for the Cardinals.
And the last time these two teams met, it was a neutral site game. It was a playoff game in Salem, and St. V's was able to beat Canfield at Salem High School. This time around, Canfield gets them at home, so we'll see. I mean, I think I think Canfield has more than enough weapons to advance into the D3 Region 9 into the semifinals. This is the quarterfinals. So we'll see what happens. But it's certainly going to be a tough game for Canfield as they take on Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. And we've made mention how wide open this region really is. I mean, good Lord.
Wow.
Chardon,
I was about to say, well, until you get to Chardon, because I think it's going to come down to Chardon and Canfield, and those two teams, if they match up, I know we're looking ahead. That's going to be the real fun one to see if Canfield can match, because Chardon looked unbelievably impressive this week against Howland.
Yeah, and I think we better start giving Streetsboro a lot more credit now.
Streetsboro looked good,
they
too.
brought it against Niles. They certainly did, and they're legit. There's no two ways about that. New Philadelphia brought it against Cheney. This is a stacked region, and whoever comes out of this region, I think, is going to be just rip-roaring ready to go in terms of making a state championship run.
There are a couple regions that we talk about in our area that if you win the region, the doors swing open for state.
Sure.
I mean, you talk about Division 5. I mean, if either Kirtland wins that region or someone knocks off Kirtland, either way, doors swing wide open because Kirtland's probably the best team in the state, and if you beat them, that means you don't have to beat the best team in the state to win a state championship. So I think that there are a couple of regions like that. I think Division 3, that's a great point. I think there are a lot of teams in that division that can say they're the best team in the state and just in that region.
Yeah, that Division 3 is certainly loaded. Division 2, we made mention of that division. It's loaded as well. It's let's be honest, it's Akron-Hoban, the head and shoulders above everyone. But then you have Fitch as the 2 seed, and if they take care of business the next 2 weeks, there's a really good chance they're taking on Akron-Hoban for a regional championship game. So we'll see what happens there. Finally, we get to Division 7, Region 25, and these games were played on Friday night. JFK started out slow. Lowellville threw everything but the kitchen sink at them in the first half.
Vinny Ballone is just hard to guard. I mean, he's hard to defend. He's so prolific. He has his little sidearm sling, and he's a gunslinger. And he got his yards even against Springfield. He put up his stats. So I think once JFK kind of understood that those plays are going to be made and it's not something that can affect us internally, that's when they turned it on. Like, when you're playing great players like that, they're going to make their plays. You got to just be like okay with the fact that they're going to make plays. And once they didn't panic when Lowellville scored and they just went out and took care of their business, then they were fine because JFK's offense was up here and Lowellville just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, when you get into a track meet, you're not going to beat Kennedy. You have to. Your defense is going to have to make some stands because you're just not going to be able to beat Kennedy in a track meet.
Cam Hollaball.
Yeah, he's
Let's
unbelievable.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Leetonia knocked off Buckeye Central in a game that was a lot more distant than 32 to 16. Buckeye Central scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make it close. Jackson Milton knocked off by McDonald 26 to 14. That sets up a very interesting regional quarterfinal game at Leetonia. If you like running the football and not much throwing, the Leetonia might be the place for you to be on Friday nights. You'll have 6-1 Leetonia, 6-1 McDonald. Dominic Shadle for McDonald.
He is the quarterback, by the way.
Yeah, he's the quarterback.
You wouldn't know it from his stats.
Yeah, and he runs. Marco Ferry is the running back from Leetonia, and he runs. And yeah, this is going to be a fun game. It's who can stop the premier athletes, and the other part of this equation is there some other teams or other teammates that are going to be able to step up and do something other than the top shelf superstars of Shadle and Ferry.
That's the key, and Shadle has proven that McDonald can pass in times.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so they are able to be a little bit two-dimensional. Latonia, they've proven it sometimes, but not as consistently, and that's going to be something they'll have to do because McDonald's defense isn't a joke either. I mean, they're going to key in on Marco Ferry. They're going to probably put 8 or 9 in the box and say, throw the ball. beat us in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And Letonia's defense is solid too. So
Letonia's
this is,
defense needs some respect because they played who's in front of them, and then you can't control who's put in front of you. But when you watch them on tape, they control the line of scrimmage, and we've said that since day one. I think their defensive line is their strongest attribute, and they're going to be they're going to be really tested this week, and they should have the mentality of this is our chance to kind of get some respect, because if they shut down McDonald, then everyone stops saying, well, it's because of their schedule. It's a legitimate defense.
Well, I mean, look, they limited Southern to 13 points.
Yeah, and then people are going to rebuttal that by saying it week one.
Yeah.
So
no, of course.
But this is that chance to kind of establish that you are a formidable defense.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens there. It should be a fascinating game. The other game that everyone should be looking at, Norwalk St. Paul will be traveling to Mollenkopf on Friday night to take on JFK. And Norwalk St. Paul did something that I didn't think anyone could do, and that's pound Southern Local into oblivion. I mean, it's one thing to beat Southern Local. They pounded Southern Local.
Southern Local was like the Hulk. They're running in, and then Norwalk was like Thanos, and he got the Infinity Stones, and then all of a sudden he took Hulk and he put him to the curb, because that's what Norwalk kind of looked like in that game, because Southern was rolling.
Yeah,
rolling.
Absolutely.
They won the EOA. Well, they won the share of the EOAC, and man, did they hit a brick wall so fast.
Yeah, and this team scored 44 on Southern, and I mean, I don't know what kind of a matchup this will be in terms of what they do against JFK. I mean, that's JFK will be challenged. There's no two ways about that.
We said it's going to be based on Norwalk's defense. I mean, their offense can, if they get into a track meet, it's going to be hard.
Sure.
Can Norwalk's defense make stops?
Well, clearly against a high-powered Southern offense, they stopped them pretty much. So
they're going up a level.
Yeah, they're going up a level. There's no two ways about that. But this will be a fun test. This will be an interesting test, to say the least.
It's always, I mean, like quarterfinals. This is when we start saying this is interesting. This is interesting.
Yeah.
There's so many good matchups. I love the quarterfinals. It's playoff time. It's fun. It's a fun time.
This is the.
And there were interesting matchups in the first 2 weeks. I don't want to take anything away from that.
Well,
but this is when you start to get like the teams that can make runs are starting to play quality opponents.
This is the more familiarity part of it, where we have sat back since I don't know 10 years. Has it been 10 years since they moved to 8 teams? Because they went from 4 to 8 pretty quickly, and I'm not sure what year they went from 4 to 8, but this is when the familiarity is in. I mean, it's okay, in a COVID world, we sat back and we were like, oh, everyone's going to be invited into the playoffs. Well, this could be pretty interesting. Everyone will fight to the Sweet 16 in week 1, Sweet 16 to the top 8 in each region in week 2. Okay, now we get the playoffs of the normal, what we're used to postseason, and let's see what happens here.
And we want to state that we will have regular season games on Friday, and then just like we did this Friday, we'll have them on the network as well. So if your team got bounced and they're scheduling a regular season game, don't worry, you're still going to be covered.
No doubts. And again, as far as the YSN family goes, what do we have?
I think I saw
12 teams.
I think I saw that Columbiana was going to travel to Lakeview. That'll be an interesting regular season match, because Lakeview struggled, of course, but they're one of those teams that we talk about their schedule. The schedules are a lot different between.
They're a couple divisions higher than Columbiana too. So
I think that might be a regular season matchup that'll be some fun on Friday night.
Absolutely, and like I said, Columbiana stepping up in weight class because they're a D6 program. Lakeview is a D4 program. Lakeview is coming from that really, really tough Northeast 8 conference.
And they have to travel up to Cortland.
Yeah, and it's not a
track,
horrible drive. I mean, I've done it before. It's not a horrible drive.
It's a trek.
And it's a decent sized trek. You go up 11 and then cross 82. It's a decent sized trek, for no question about that.
And then I think we're going to have some rivalries kind of renewed in the next couple of weeks. It'll be fun to see. I've heard rumblings that maybe Salem and United might schedule a game now that they're both out of the playoffs, and that's always a fun rivalry. I know the EOAC wants to decide the champion, and everyone except Latonia is out, so
Yeah.
They might Southern and United.
Well, Southern and United already played each other.
But
so
United, they might both play the games that they missed. I think
Yeah.
United has to play East Palestine,
Yes.
and I think Southern has to play Wellsville.
I'm not. No, Southern played Wellsville. Hang on a second. I will tell you right now because I have the master schedule of the EOAC, and let's see. Southern. Where's Southern? All right, they played Latonia, Wellsville, Palestine, Columbiana United, Valley Christian. They didn't play Lisbon.
So
yeah, so they got to play Lisbon. United has played Columbiana, Lisbon, Wellsville, Valley Christian, Southern, Latonia. They didn't play East Palestine. Latonia didn't play Columbiana. So you would think that Wellsville and United and Southern should be able to win their games. Could Latonia beat Columbiana? That's the $1 million question, and I think they could.
There are
but we'll
bigger
see.
things on the horizon for Latonia
Absolutely.
right now. But if,
Absolutely.
I know that they want to make it. They want to try to have an EOC champion if they can. So that those might be games on the horizon, and we'll have them.
Yeah, it's again, and
I kind of like the idea that teams are allowed to play. Because, you give your kids 10 games. Say they deserve 10 games, a senior deserves 10 games. Unless your kids say that they don't want to play or something like that, then you should give them the opportunity to go out and play 10 games.
I know that a couple of teams in the area have shut it down due to the fact that
numbers
and COVID concerns across the state where the numbers have spiked again.
We saw Champion have a regular season game. I'm happy for them because they finally got to get back on the field after COVID kind of took them out of their season after they had a good start. So I was happy to see those kids get back on the field and be able to kind of go out with a bang. So, it's stories like that even though they're not in the playoffs, you still kind of look and you say that's an important game.
Oh, absolutely. No two ways about that. All right, 330-886-0813. Dana Balish will be joining us at the top of the hour, and we'll have some fun with Dana. And we'll get his take not only on what's going on in the high school. We can sit back and on the horizon, no pun intended, the upcoming basketball season with the YSU men's and women's basketball program. Also, the football team is going to be opening up their season February the 21st against North Dakota State at the Fargo Dome.
Yeah, at North Dakota State on a Sunday.
Yeah, at the Fargo Dome. So on a Sunday. Which kind of strange.
Welcome to 2020, even though that'll be 2021.
Yeah, that's kind of strange that they would open on a Sunday in February. But at least it's in a dome, and everything will be 70 degrees, comfortable weather, and you don't have to freeze in North Dakota.
Going up to Fargo, eh?
Yeah, going to go to Fargo, mini Canada, eh? So there you go. The Missouri Valley Football Conference will be a late winter, early spring kind of a thing. And the Penguins over the weekend concluded fall camp. So they will open up their season, as I mentioned, February the 21st up at the Fargo Dome in North Dakota as they take on the benchmark, the team, not only in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, the team in FCS football, and that would be North Dakota State.
No Trey Lance, but I'm sure they have another guy waiting in the wings that's probably just as good because he's been quarterback central for a while. So.
Yeah, go figure. So that should be a pretty decent time. And as everyone knows this by now, Dana Balish is a Browns fan. We'll get his take on what happened on Sunday with the Browns and Steelers, because that was tough. That was tough to see. All right, 330-886-0813. Let's go to the phone lines. Tony, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. What's going on, brother?
Hey, guys. Some good football this weekend. Hey, first of all, on the Canfield game, I want to remind people in Canfield that, in my opinion, and an official who happened to be sitting with me's opinion, they got screwed the last time they played Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's on a horrible call at the end of the game. So,
Yeah,
sure they know that too.
we'll see what transpires this time around. But again, it's the revenge
I can't even
tour.
remember. I think it was a late fumble that wasn't a fumble. The guy was very much down. There was no question about him being down, if I remember correctly. And they awarded the ball to Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's. So that was right at the end of the game. And I think it was their senior. They had a good senior quarterback. I can't remember. It's been 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I mean, it's look. I mean, St. V's has taken down a number of area teams, and hopefully Canfield will be able to return the favor here this weekend.
Yeah, but the Cimarron kid is a really good player, but Akron St. Vincent's played some really good players all year. So they've seen guys of his caliber. So good luck to Canfield. I really do want them to win. So
yeah.
Hey, real quick. We're down to 15 or 14 local teams. This is the normal size of the regular playoffs. That's the typical amount of guys you have local, right?
Somewhere in that vicinity, yeah.
So were the extra playoffs really worth it? Let me give you some numbers real quick. People who the coaches rated the top seedings. Division II, 8. Looks like 8 of 8.
Yeah.
Top 10.
Yeah, we were
talking. Go through this already?
Yeah, Tony, we were talking about that. The coaches did a bang-up job with the seeds. I mean, by and large, it's been chalk. In D7, there's one team that is out of the equation, and I think the only division where everything is kind of messed up is Division 4, and one of those games was based on a no contest.
Divisions. I'm looking at Division 6. They were 4 of 8. So
Yeah.
that's not really.
Yeah, and there was a no contest in D4. D6 was, like you said, 4 out of 8. But by and large, they've done a bang-up job.
Don't look past Hudson. You know what? Austintown, if you want, if they happen to get there and you want Asheville or Akron Akron Hoban, great, good for you. But don't look past Hudson.
No. I mean, look, it's 1 week at a time from here on out. So I mean, if Painesville can beat Hudson, great. But Fitch has one team to focus on this week. It's Harding. No, nothing else.
Yeah, those were 2 teams I called earlier in the year, and I just don't think Riverside's as good as I thought they were early. But Hudson's maybe better than I thought they were early. Riverside, I ranked them higher. One of the teams that got grossly overrated by the coaches because of, for whatever reason, was Perry. Perry was grossly overrated. I'm not talking about Massillon Perry. I'm talking about Lake County Perry.
Yeah.
So, when I saw Riverside beat Perry, my ears really perked up. But I don't think that was a big win for them. So, Streetsboro, definitely a good team. Now, this is an interesting one. They've got. I would talk to somebody from Akron. They've got 4 or 5 kids who came out of that Akron City Series after the COVID and the city schools shut down. They picked up like 4 or 5 blue chippers this year.
Wow.
And they've got one of the top recruits in the state of Ohio, a defensive player. I can't remember what he is. But last year or 2 years ago, I complained about Wyndham really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And about some issues with Wyndham and hitting after plays and getting away with it, encouraged by coaches. Well, I just saw another team do that. And Wyndham and Streetsboro are right next to each other, by the way.
Okay.
So whoever plays them, I've said enough.
All righty.
I've said enough. So, but that's it. I just, I was going to go on the numbers about how many, how well. Oh, I wanted to talk about blowouts too. And like I said, I don't mind blowouts in the first round, but we're 2 rounds into it now, and there were. Did you count? Division II had 6 of 8 games that were mercy ruled.
Yeah.
4 of 8, 6 of 8, 4 of 7. I'm going down through. I watched all. These games were just, a lot of them were just blowouts.
Well, I mean, look, even when we're in the quarterfinals, there's a lot of mercy rule games. So
I wouldn't say a lot. There's some.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's more than you would think. It doesn't surprise me there were a number of Mercy Rule games because we haven't gotten to the elite of the elite.
Does that justify opening it up to everybody if these games are just,
Well, I mean, look, that's not the reason why they opened it up. They opened it up for everyone because it was a way to fill in the weeks that you weren't going to be playing, and it was a money grab.
That's this year. This year, but I'm talking about looking forward. I mean, everybody's talking about looking forward and saying, hey, how do we expand this? 16 may just be too many. 8 seems, based on what we're seeing, 8 seems to be a really good number.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not good enough money-wise, and I guess that's the one thing that they're reasoning it on. So there you go.
Money.
Yeah, it's all about the money.
Yeah, well, I've been saying that for a year. You know how I feel about that organization, but they do what they do. Hey, what do you think about the Bills tonight?
Cautiously optimistic. They got Milano back. They got Tre'Davious White back. They have Brown back. The weather's going to be crappy, which bodes well for whoever runs the ball. It's going to be rainy.
Edmund's shoulder's tweaked again too, so.
Yeah, it's going to be rainy and yucky, which is a typical October in Orchard Park.
You're in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, it's typical Buffalo Orchard Park type of weather in New York. Low 50s, rain, disgusting. So it'll be fun.
But I don't know if I can watch. I'm finally out of the fetal position from the last game.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't have any. I mean, it was a lot of injuries and a lot of stuff going sideways. Let's see what they do, how they bounce back against Kansas City. If they can bounce back and be in the game and play these guys tough, I'll be happy. If they get blown out again, well, now I'm not going to be too happy. So
these guys aren't robots. You can't say you're playing, you're not playing, you're playing, you're not playing. Oh, you're playing this team. Now we stuck the game back in. You can't do that to these guys.
No.
They're professionals. They need to gear up for games.
Absolutely. I mean, for the longest time, they didn't know who the hell they were preparing for. So, but there's no excuse this time around. You've had enough time to prepare for Kansas City. If you crap on yourselves, I'm not going to be as calm after a loss against Tennessee as I will be tomorrow if Buffalo craps on themselves. So
is Tennessee that good?
They're pretty good, and we'll find out Sunday when they play Pittsburgh. And my gut feeling is the Steelers are going to be able to handle them, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Tony, we got to get going, brother.
Have a good day.
Appreciate
guys.
it. See you. All right, Dana Balish is coming up. We'll get a couple of words from Dana as far as the Valley and how many teams we have left, and I mean it's the normal amount and the normal portion of the playoffs coming up, and good Lord, we've got some great matchups. We'll talk with Dana about that. Stick around. It's a Monday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Let's go to the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline where we find 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. So here we are. Now we get into the normalcy of the playoffs in high school football, and I bring normalcy to the table because, well, we're in the Elite Eight in each region. So this would be the first step in a normal season for the last. Help me out here, Dana. How many years have the OHSAA had the 8 teams per region format? At least 10.
Yeah, I think it was 2. No, I think it's a little bit longer than that, Ron. I'm not sure, but yeah, 8 teams in each region. I want to say 10 to 12 years.
Well, be that as it may, we now get into to the top 8 teams in each region, and the area has a great representation once again from D2 all the way down to D7, and you know the cream is starting to rise to the top.
Yeah, you know, we have 13 teams left, and that's kind of our average and our normal, as you mentioned. But I think surprisingly, you know, Warren Harding has played well. I think Letonia is one of those teams that no one thought, you know, they would be where they are. But again, you know, they didn't play two playoff games. They had a bye. You know, Ursuline, I think, you know, is another pleasant surprise. I think West Branch is a major surprise. You know, we thought Springfield would be there. We thought South Range would be there. We thought Canfield would be there, so to speak. I mean, Crestview is one of those teams again, you know, that has to go on the road to play. But, you know, Ron, it is what it is, and certainly I think some matchups favor some of the local teams. I think there's a couple of matchups that can go either way, and certainly with 3 local matchups, we're going to have at least 3 teams move on.
And when you see, you brought up the surprise on West Branch, and we talked about it, me and Ron, last week and a little bit today too. West Branch is one of those teams that it's not on a lot of people's radar in the area because they don't play a lot of teams in the ABC that are in the local realm. Do you think this is a week where West Branch can kind of start to get on the local radar a little bit from the fans in the area, because this is their opportunity?
Well, I think they've always been on the radar, Anthony. I think, because of where they are, they probably don't get, the publicity they deserve. But, they beat an East Liverpool team by 6 during the regular season. And then if you look at some of the other rematches, they were very close, or the other team won. And I guess one of the other rematches was Brookfield and LeBray, where Brookfield pretty much manhandled LeBray in week 2, and then LeBray stung them and beat them in a shootout 55-54. If you look at West Branch beat East Liverpool by 6, and then beat them, by double digits on Saturday. So I think that's a sign of a pretty good football team, and certainly, their hands will be full with Ursuline on Saturday. Those two teams have never played before, so I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And with that same analogy, Harding and Fitch. Harding loses, I think, 26-21. There were a couple special teams play, a couple of big plays. So I think Harding, the attitude with Warren Harding is, look, hey, we're playing with house money. They're playing at home. They're the higher seed. And you go in there very, very relaxed. And I think that's the way teams have to approach this week, especially, now that teams are hosting and have hosted a game, and now 2 in a row, and perhaps even next week 3 in a row. Akron St. V has had Ursuline's number. They've beaten them twice in the postseason. Is this Canfield's year? 2 years ago or 3 years ago in 2017, it was a 13-10 game. In 2015, it was a double-digit game. So, you got to have a little luck, and I've always said that the ball got to bounce your way.
Yeah, we made mention in the first hour. Akron St. Vincent St. Mary has been a valley nightmare. 4-0 against Hubbard, 2-1 against Poland, 2-0 against Canfield. Between those three teams alone, 8 wins and 1 loss. They've won 7 straight postseason games against the area. You made mention that Canfield lost to them in the regional final 3 years ago, 13-10. St. V's bounced them 5 years ago in the first round, 49-28. Canfield's on kind of a revenge tour to begin with. They took on and took out a team that had been a thorn in their backside this past weekend, beating Kenston 28-10. Is this a different Canfield team where they may be able to exercise demons of the past?
Well, I think it's a team, Ron, that understands what they have to do. And I think in this very unique year of 2020, it's one and done, so to speak. And I think, there was no pressure during the regular season, and now that pressure comes in the postseason. So I think that's the difference, because, you got to be in some of those tight games. You have to, check yourself at the door a little bit in some of these games during the regular season. Some games during the regular season in weeks 8 and 9 are playoff games. And I think there's a different mentality now than what you had, during the regular season, because you knew in the back of your mind, hey, if we lose this game, we're still going to the playoffs. We're still, advancing. So I think the mentality has changed. I think you got to turn that dial the other way and focus in now. So I think Canfield has done that. I think, the young quarterback has done a great job. I think Sam Roan on both sides of the ball has played really, really well. St. V's going to come with athletes, and the question will be, can Canfield, contain their athletes? This is going to be, I think, Ron, a situation of ball control for Canfield, keeping the ball away from St. V. If they're able to establish the running game, which they've been able to do, in this run they've had, and I think the lower scoring game, the better, the Canfield's chances of winning are. I don't think you could get in a shootout, because I don't know if Canfield is prepared for shootout games.
And I'm going to ask you something, because we were talking about it at HQ over the weekend after the Audible call. As we go further into the playoffs, when we talk about locations where these games are going to be, do you think, has OHSA made any kind of move that makes you think they might have teams host all the way to the regional finals or state semifinals even? I mean, I imagine these neutral sites with schools that aren't in the playoffs anymore, they're not going to make any money because of the limited tickets. So it's going to be harder to find schools that are willing to host a playoff game if you want a neutral site. So what do you think the plan is going forward as we get deeper in the playoffs on where these teams are going to be located?
Well, I think, Anthony, what they're going to say is they're going to try to host the games at home sites at least through the regional semifinals. Then I think what they'll do, and they may be even doing it this week, is kind of take a poll, talk to some of the establishments and places where they have hosted neutral site games in the past and say, hey, are you interested? And then I think they will gauge it from that to say, okay, look, it's a lot better to find 14 neutral sites, for the state semifinals, and then 7, neutral sites for the state finals than it is to find, 28. So I think at this point, through the regional finals, I think teams, if you're the higher seed, you're going to host, and that's an advantage for you. And I think this could be something that they use down the road. You just never know. But I think that's what the formula you're going to see from here on out.
Well, I don't think there's any question that, and we talked with Tim Street about this the last time we had him on. It just does. It makes no sense in the rules that we have currently. And again, the rules are set forth by Governor DeWine and not the OHSAA. As long as Governor DeWine is continuing to say 15% of capacity or 1,500 fans in a bigger stadium, there's no reason for the OHSAA to rent out Tom Benson Stadium because, to me, I think it's a waste of money. They lose money, a significant amount of money in the state championship game. So as long as that rule is in effect and based on the amount of COVID spikes we've had, I don't see that rule being changed anytime soon. We're probably going to be looking at a smaller facility for Division 7 and a little bigger for D6, and the bigger the school, the bigger the stadium, but it's not going to be a monstrosity type of building for 7 consecutive games like Tom Benson Stadium.
Well, I think there's ways you can work around that, Ron, too. Let's just say you have Akron, Hoban, or Fitch, playing another team from Northeast Ohio. I mean, I think the state will go to Tom Benson Stadium and say, okay, hey, you know what we'll do? We'll give you the state finals for there's a way to play at that facility. Now, all the games aren't going to be played at that facility, but it doesn't matter if you have the small team. You could have the 2 biggest schools and play that game at a 2,000-seat stadium because it doesn't matter. So I think what the state's going to look at is they're going to look at the sites. They're going to have sites already predetermined for the state finals or state semifinals, depending on who wins and who loses. I think what could be happening, though, and I think this could be something that changes. Before you used to have one state championship at a time, and I think that could still stick because of TV contracts, but I wouldn't count on games being like you may have a game at 11 in the morning and the next one started at 2 at another site where you had to wait that hour and a half or 3:15 or whatever it was. So I think games will be when you get to that point, if we get to that point, games will be like that. But I could see the state talking to Tom Benson. I could see the state talking to Paul Brown Stadium and say, hey, you know what, can you host a game on Friday and maybe come. I mean, they may have, depending on the teams, they may have 2 games at Benson Stadium. No one knows that. I mean, because it doesn't matter whether you have D1 schools playing. You could have D1 schools playing at Girard Stadium because it seats 3,500. You could have D7 schools playing at Girard. The site does the stadium doesn't matter. Geographically is where it's going to matter for these teams.
And do you think the exact same thought process will go into the other sports as we start the other tournaments this week, where you might have to bite the bullet and say home team host all the way through regional finals? Or do you think it'll be easier or harder to find neutral sites for those sports that are indoor inside or soccer outside?
Well, I think if you look at volleyball plays the state finals and the state semifinals at the Nutter Center in Dayton. I don't believe the volleyball finals will be there. I think they'll be in the Dayton area, but I don't think it will be at the Nutter Center. I think it will be at a smaller facility. So I think the state right now is looking at, soccer is the same situation. Mapfre Stadium was pretty much the site of where the finals were held. Maybe they'll be held there. I don't think the state has answers right now. I think they're going to kind of wait and see, where you get. I mean, they're probably making some preliminary calls to say, hey, if these two teams play, can you host, in soccer? If these two teams play, can you host volleyball? That's where, and again, volleyball, and you're in the same situation. Only 300 people can get in to watch volleyball. So if you have a state, semifinal, I mean, 300 people, there's more than 300 people that watch those, volleyball games. So it's going to be unique. I think the next month's really going to be very, very unique to see how the state handles this.
Dana, it just dawned on me. Here is the television company that is the official, quote unquote, video of the OHSAA in Spectrum. Okay, well, let's think about this logically. If we have games in 7 different places in D1 through D7, that means that Spectrum has to have 7 completely different equipment and different technological things in order to do 7 completely different sites. I don't know how big Spectrum is, but I got to believe they don't have that capability. So that may preclude the OHSAA from going 7 different directions unless they've made a backdoor handshake deal with Spectrum somewhere. I can't see unless Spectrum has the electronics and the capability to go 7 different places back to back to back to back. I don't see how they can do this.
And Ron, that's and again that's something that I think the state is aware of. They've been in conversation with Spectrum about that. That's why I think you'll see multiple games at multiple sites, pending on who those teams are. You may have a game in Toledo. Okay, can we get 4 teams up or 2 divisions up there? That would take care of 4 teams. We'll have another one at Tom Benson. There's another 4 games or 2 games. Now we're down to 3 games. So I think working with 2 crews and because they did when it was with Sports Time Ohio, they had 2 crews. They had one at Paul Brown and one at in Canton, and it worked very, very well. So I think the Ohio High School Athletic Association is talking to a lot of elements in this. They're talking to Spectrum. They're talking to various sites to say, again, if these 2 teams win, can you host, whether it's volleyball, whether it's soccer, whether it's football. Obviously, they're going to look for turf fields, and there's probably more turf fields now in the state than the natural grass. So I think that's the steps they're taking to kind of say, okay, can this work? Going to the big arenas, I'm not saying it's out of the question, but I'm willing to bet volleyball will not be played at the Nutter Center, although it will be in the Dayton area. Football, I think there's a chance you could have a game at Tom Benson. I think there's a game you could have at Paul Brown. I think that's a possibility. There's other stadiums, around the state that I'm sure can host as well. Some smaller colleges, down in the Columbus area. You're not going to have, the glitz and glory of the Hall of Fame in the background. But, Ron, how many times have you heard coaches say, we'll play a state championship game on concrete. We don't care where it's at. Well, coaches are going to get that wish this year.
Yeah, no 2 ways about that. Hey, a couple more things before we get out of here. Obviously, Jason Kokrak and the fact that we've waited so long for this very talented golfer to get his first victory on the PGA Tour. Over the weekend in Vegas, he gets his first win. He represents the Mahoning Valley, and the JFK grad gets his first PGA win. And along with that victory comes a lot of really cool things for Jason. He doesn't have to worry about fighting for a tour card for the next couple of years. He gets a free ride into the Masters next year as well as this year. He earned the right this year. He gets another trip to the Masters next year. There's more importantly, the 900-pound gorilla's off his back. Let's see if Jason can get multiple PGA Tour victories. But this first one, man, it was nice to see.
Well, and again, I think it was more of a mental win than anything else because, they were playing threesomes yesterday, then Jason Day withdrew after the second hole, so they had a lot of waiting to do. And I think that's the part that really proved to be the mental toughness for him. I mean, that 18th tee shot that he had, that was a monster shot that he had to make. He took a chance, and it paid off for him. Kokrak in the past has been known to, let the pressure get to him and, make some mistakes, but he was flawless yesterday. Shot a 64 that was tied for the lowest round. He was very familiar with that golf course, and I think that helped out as well. And it does set the stage for him now to kind of, take a deep breath and say, okay, I earned it into the Masters this year, next month, next year I'm going to be in, and certainly you hope it's the beginning of more wins. But I thought Ron, and I was able to watch the final 9 holes, and again he didn't make mistakes, and in the past he kind of, I think, let the pressure get to him, but he was flawless yesterday, and I think this is a big confidence booster for him now, and hopefully it carries on.
Mentality is so important in golf. You finally get the monkey off your back, win your first tour championship. I know he's gotten close before. Do you think that'll open the floodgates and get that mentality back for Jason where he doesn't kind of fold in the pressure situations anymore?
Well, I think what helps him now, Anthony, is he's been down that road. He was playing with Xander Schauffele, who, is not one of the real big names, but, he wasn't playing with Tiger or Mickelson or anybody like that, where I think the pressure of just playing with those guys gets you. But, now he's been down that road. Now he experiences that, okay, this is what it feels like to win these things. This is what I had to do to win it. Again, there's a lot of shots in golf, but that tee on 18 was probably that drive there was a make or break for Kokrak in that tournament, and he just was confident about it, knew what he had to do. He's one of the longer hitters on tour, and delivered, and it was good to see. Like I said, he's been there before, and he has a couple of runner-ups, 3 third-place finishes, and he takes home $1.75 million, so that's not too shabby.
Now, I would have loved to have been his caddy for the weekend. 10%. Give me $175,000. I'll take it any day of the week.
Well, Ron, you should become a caddy.
Yeah, well, that's my handicap is my golf game, so we'll leave it at that. Hey, Dana, before we let you go, the Browns go into Pittsburgh and they lose soundly, 38-7. And, I said this after the game. Obviously, the Browns are 4-2. That's the good news. The bad news is the 2 losses, interdivisional games against the 2 best teams in the division. You lose to 32 by Baltimore, 31 to Pittsburgh. The Browns, even though they're 4-2, they have a long, long way to go before they're anywhere close to the 2 behemoths in that division. Now, does that mean that they're not going to be a playoff team this year? No, not necessarily. 4-2 will get you a wild card, and they do have a simple schedule, at least on paper. But any thoughts of this team being equal to Baltimore and Pittsburgh went right out the window early on in yesterday's game.
Well, I think, Ron, going into the game, I think the Browns were confident. They just it appeared to me they just played scared. After that pick 6, that game was over at that point. And it just appeared that they were playing scared. They were afraid to make a mistake, and I think Mayfield, was afraid to make a mistake, and that resulted in making mistakes. He tried to make. You can't hope for a play against the Steelers. You got to make a play against the Steelers, and they weren't able to do that. So I think they played scared. I think this is a game, obviously, that will open some eyes on both sides of the ball for them. And again, I give credit to Stefanski. They didn't have Chubb. Mayfield was banged up. Odell and Landry were. Stefanski didn't use that as an excuse. Look, they got beat. You pick up the pieces. You forget about that game, and you look toward the Bengals this week because you can't overlook the Bengals. The Bengals have been putting points on the board. Burrow's had a remarkable rookie season, and you're going down there. And again, you're 2 games back. It seems like it's 3 or 4 because they're divisional games, but you're going to see both those teams again at home. And I think that's what Kevin Stefanski has to instill into his players.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, we've been down this road. If you're a Browns fan, you've been down this road. Your team is almost there. They go and take on a better team on paper. They get slapped back down. In previous years, that loss turns the season sideways. Let's see what happens here. This game against Cincinnati is huge because a loss to the Bengals, and then it might be, okay, same old Browns. They're going to go sideways and get ready for the disaster that's about to take place. I don't think it happens this time around. I think that there is something different about the team, even though they're not in the same class as Baltimore and Pittsburgh at the present time. I do think that there is something different about this team in that they're not going to collapse as normal teams or previous Browns teams did after they were slapped back.
Well, I think, and obviously Beckham is getting, ridiculed because he didn't have his shoes on and all this stuff and whatever. But, and again, I'm not a fan of that, okay, but that showed me his frustration. And I'd rather see players' frustration over not being involved in the offense or losing than players smiling and saying, okay, you know what, this is just another game. I think Stefanski will right the ship. I mean, you can't let yesterday's loss turn into a second loss or even a third loss. And this is a critical week for the Browns to practice. They have to get healthier. Like it says, and the running game was nothing yesterday. And again, I'm not a Steelers fan, Ron, but the Steelers beat them from start to finish. The Steelers were the superior team yesterday, but that's only one game.
Dana, always a pleasure, sir. Look forward to catching up with you next Monday.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it. Dana Balish, 21 Sports Director, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Look, I mean, yesterday's game, and this is no secret, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not a Mayfield fan. Baker Mayfield needs a solid running attack in order for him to be a winning type of quarterback. He cannot do this on his own. In other words, if the Steelers weren't able to stop the run, I think Cleveland would have been in a lot better position because, okay, now Baker can be a really good quarterback because you have that running attack that's there. Stop the running attack and basically put 8-9 guys in a box and force Baker to beat you. Now we're going to find out where Baker Mayfield is, and spoiler alert, against really good defenses, except for Baltimore, in previous years, ever since he came into the NFL 2.5 years ago. He hasn't delivered the goods against top-notch defenses. By and large, he hasn't. So it's, to me, and this is not an indictment on him, but when the Steelers shut down Cleveland's running attack early on, I pretty much thought this was going to be a long day for Cleveland.
And I'll just say a few things, and then we can go to break, and we can go back to local for the next whatever. One, for Browns fans, don't be prisoners of the moment because you guys aren't as bad as you looked on Sunday. It's just
exactly
you're not. I mean, a lot of problems. Baker was one of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
So don't put it all on. Don't act like Baker's not, just trash because he got you to 4-1. He just needs some stuff to work. He needs things to go right. And the Browns learned how to make game-winning plays this season. You saw that in the Cowboys game. You saw that in the Colts game. They are starting to make game-winning plays.
Yes.
That's step one. What I saw yesterday, they haven't learned how to handle success. The pats on the back came, and then all of a sudden, it looked like they didn't really prepare for that game. They were a little bit overconfident. They didn't. There were things schematically that they looked like they didn't even know what was going on. They didn't watch film. Whatever it may be, you have to learn how to handle success. And that's the next step that the Browns are going to have to take. Because the pats on the back came. Oh, you're 4-1 for the first time since 1994. We're going places.
Yeah.
And you gotta still go to work. Just because you're 4-1, you gotta go to work. And they learned that lesson the real hard way. I don't think the gap is that big between the Browns and Steelers as it was yesterday. I think when they play again in Week 17, it could be a lot closer. But you got to learn how to handle success, and hopefully the Browns can do that going forward. I think, with your point, Baker Mayfield needs a run game. Yes, he does. That's not, like you said, it's not an indictment on him because unless you're like 6 quarterbacks in the league, you need a run game.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of quarterbacks that don't.
Well, and those are the elite ones.
More need run games than don't. But then when you look at the Super Bowl champions, it hasn't been outside those 6 in a long time.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean that Baker can't get you wins, or can't get you to the playoffs, or can't get you to the Super Bowl if things go right. So it's not an indictment to say he needs things going. But if the Browns want a elite, can get you to the Super Bowl quarterback, it's just, I don't think it's Baker Mayfield.
Well, here's a couple of things.
He's not going to be the top 6 he's never going to be that guy.
No.
And you have to either accept that and go with him, or look for a different one.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, one of the reasons why I was comfortable in thinking Pittsburgh would win this game by at least a touchdown, possibly more, Cleveland didn't have Nick Chubb. Now, I don't know if this would have really made a big deal. You still got to have Wyatt Teller. And look,
I think the Steelers' run defense would have stopped Derrick Henry if he was on the Browns team last.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think
Wyatt, the O-line didn't block well. I mean, there were so many things that went on.
And Wyatt Teller had something to do with that. The absence of Wyatt Teller. And I'll say this, I didn't think much of him when Buffalo released him because he really wasn't all that great. Man, has he stepped his game up. He's one of the best run blockers early on in the 2020 season, at least according to the numbers. His absence and Nick Chubb's absence was a huge reason why the Steelers were able to pretty much neutralize Cleveland's running attack. The indictment that I'm going to give to the fans is when fans start freaking out and saying, "Oh my God, this team's lost. Oh, this is the same old Browns. We're going to go right back to the last 21 years," and everyone puts the onus on the last 21 years. Wait a second. Stefanski hasn't been around for the 21 years. This general manager hasn't been around for the whole 21 years. And not even Jimmy Boy has been around for the entire 21 years. This is nothing to do with sins of 1999 and whatever. This team is in the right direction. They just have to tweak a couple of things in order to get themselves on par with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. They're not that far away. It's just they need to do a more significant things in order to get on Baltimore and Pittsburgh's level.
The franchise needs to do what they haven't done in a long, long time, and that's be patient.
Well, yeah,
be
that
patient,
too.
For the love of God.
Yeah, and that's a Haslam problem for sure.
So,
Champ, are you still there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I got you. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on, brother?
Listen, thanks. I want to discuss a little bit what you're just talking about, the Cleveland Browns. And, Ron, I think you could appreciate this because I'm going to use a similar analogy, okay? Because I think the Browns have 2 major problems. The Buffalo Bills have been, as you know, a lot around 500, 6-10, 7-9, whatever. But it's not so much what their record was. It's just they were in the same division as the New England Patriots, who unbelievably won a double digits, 12, 13 years in a row, unbelievable statistics.
Yeah.
But the Browns are in a kind of similar situation, but they have it twice as bad. And I just looking at these interesting stats from when this division got together, basically when the Ravens came in '96 and the Browns came back, since 2000, let's say, that the Steelers have been in the playoffs 12 times, the Ravens have been in the playoffs 12 times, and Cincinnati's been in the playoffs 7 times, the Browns once. The Steelers have won the division 9 times. The Ravens have won 6 times, and the Bengals have won 4 times. The Browns have won the division 0 times. The Steelers' record against the Browns since 2000 is 35 wins, 5 defeats, and 1 tie. The Ravens' record since they came back against the Browns is 32-11. Most recently, they've won 21 of the last 24 games. And that's the problem. I mean, the Browns can never get out of that division to see how good they are because they just have these 2 giant teams who have been really winning consistently. They just can't get past them. And I watched the game Sunday, and I'm thinking, until Roethlisberger hangs it up, the Browns aren't going to beat the Steelers, period. It was kind of like when Bradshaw was there and kind of maybe when Bernie Kosar with the Browns, because I think that's when the Browns had good records against the Steelers. And then the Ravens go from Flacco to this Lamar Jackson. They're just spinning their wheels, and they've had so many different GMs and coaches and players and quarterbacks. It's just the big problem is that they just can't get to the level of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens are right now, and they're pretty good. They've been pretty good for a long period of time.
Well, and I think that Anthony hit the nail on the head with the patience. The Browns have not had any patience. You could have sat back and very easily given the general manager, the previous general manager, a few more years. Well, no, he's going to go. Now, Kitchens, you didn't want to give him more than 1 year because he was an abysmal failure. Hugh Jackson, you gave him enough time, and he was an abysmal failure. Look, I want Stefanski and I want this front office to be given a minimum of 3 years to see what they can do, and I'm not going to necessarily agree with the fact that Cleveland can't be as good as Pittsburgh before Ben retires, but I do think the Browns are going to have to draft wisely, and they're going to have to they're going to have to get this thing resolved a lot quicker. But it's not out of the realm of possibility for this team to be on that level. They just have a ways to go. Clearly, when you lose to Baltimore by 32 and Pittsburgh by 31 in the first meeting, you have a long way to go before you are on that level.
And I'll be the first one to not give the Steelers their credit, because I always thought the Steelers the last 4 or 5 years didn't really have that championship defense to go along with the rest of the team. But I'm impressed with the Steelers' defense. And you know what? Keep this in mind, that the Steelers didn't have a first-round draft pick. They traded that to get a guy, this Fitzpatrick, this defensive back, which in my opinion really turned around the defense because he's making a lot of big plays. He finally had an interception yesterday. And then in the second round this year, the Steelers, he fell into their lap. One of the steals of the draft is Claypool. So they actually replaced Antonio Brown with a bigger, maybe better receiver attitude-wise, and they also shored up the defense. This team is dangerous, and Roethlisberger looks pretty healthy to me. They may be able to make one final run here. I didn't think they would, but defensively they look really improved to me.
Well, the moment they picked up Minkah Fitzpatrick, I knew their secondary problems were history, because this kid's just a difference maker all the way around, and he proved again. I mean, that pick six he had yesterday, game, set, match, game's over. I understand it's still early in the first half. That game is essentially over when Minkah does the pick six on Baker. You could see that the Browns were deflated. You could see the Steelers were ready to just put the dirt on the grave of this team for this particular Sunday. And Minkah Fitzpatrick is that much of a difference maker. And as far as Roethlisberger goes, I thought that the Steelers had a run in them, provided Ben stays healthy. And right now, if you're a Steelers fan, keep knocking on wood, keep praying to the football god, small g, that elbow holds out, because if it does, that's a damn good football team.
Yeah, if you're ahead by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, or maybe 24 points, don't you think they should take Roethlisberger out? I mean, I was watching that game yesterday thinking, why is he still in the game? I mean, they got to watch out for things like that, because he is basically their money guy. I mean, I've always said that without Roethlisberger, the Steelers are like a 5-win team.
Well, and 8 wins last year. I mean, 8 wins last year, but I mean, you're right. Without Ben, this is not a playoff team. It's a mediocre, spinning your wheels type of AFC team without Roethlisberger.
Yeah, the good news for the Browns is they're picking an extra wild card team, so there'll be 3 wild cards this year, and we know that Baltimore, Pittsburgh, so one of those wild cards are taken. I thought New England probably is the other one, although their record is 2-3 now. But the Browns are still very much in the mix because of their schedule and because they have key games with teams that if they beat will knock them out of their own wild card race. So they're still really in good shape to make the playoffs. But I think my attitude on Mayfield has changed. I just don't know if he's the quarterback to bring him to the next level.
Well, look, I mean, as far as the playoffs go, New England's going to be one of those teams battling it out. I wouldn't bet against Houston. They looked really good against Tennessee before losing in overtime, and that coaching change might have helped them out tremendously as well. You know, you're looking at me kind of funny.
Houston's 1-5.
I understand that, but look, they might be 1-5 right now. They're going to wind up the season 9-7.
Really?
I think there's a better than average chance that they wind up 9-7 or 8-8, and 8-8 might get them the final playoff spot. They looked good against Tennessee. yesterday. I don't know
Their
if
offense did, their defense did.
Well, no, but I mean, who's not going to look
Their
good against
defense is
Tennessee?
terrible.
Yeah, but Tennessee offensively is pretty good. I mean, we saw that in all year long. We've seen Tennessee is pretty good. As long as nobody stops Derrick Henry, they're a pretty solid team. Now they go up against an elite run defense Sunday. Let's see what the Steelers do with Henry, because if they stop Henry, now let's see if Tannehill is really this franchise quarterback kind of guy.
You know, Tannehill, when he took over the team last year, they were 4, or I think they were 2-6 or something like whatever the record was. But since he's been the quarterback, he's gone 14-4, including the playoffs. And I think what Tannehill is doing, he's kind of developing or kind of merging into a quarterback like Trent Dilfer, where if you have a good defense, you have a good running game, a good offensive line, then just play within yourselves. And that's what he seems to be doing right now, Tannehill, because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's not a great quarterback, but he knows what he has right now. And you know what? They came close. They gave Kansas City all they can handle last year, and I think we forgot about them, that how good they were at the end of last season because of that tremendous runner they have. But I give credit to Tannehill. He's playing within himself, and we've had very few instances where you had a mediocre quarterback win a Super Bowl, but what they had was a great defense and a great running game. And Dilfer's one, Hofstadter was another, even Brad Johnson. Those are three I can remember. Weren't great quarterbacks, but they played within the system very well, and Tannehill's doing that right now.
Well, they're game managers. They didn't turn the ball over, and that's what you need to do. You win on your defense, you win on your running, and you win by having your quarterback manage the game and not screw up.
Tannehill is more mobile than those average quarterbacks, though, which gives him an extra advantage. I mean, he doesn't look it, but he can escape the pocket and run for a first down really easily. And he's done that quite a few times this year.
No, there's no two ways about it.
Which gives him another thing you have to defend.
Yeah, no two ways about that. Anything else on your mind, Jim?
No, I'm not really sure I'm rooting for tonight. I'm going to sit back and kind of watch it because, you know, the Chiefs and the Bills, these are the two teams that the Raiders have problems with right now.
You're a Raider fan. You got to root for the Bills, or else I lose respect for you as a Raiders fan.
Well,
Wait a minute.
I'm going to go to Champ's defense for a second here because they need the Bills to lose because there's no chance in hell they're going to get the division title.
I would never root for the Raiders ever. So hopefully.
I mean, even if let's put the shoe on the other foot for a second. No, I mean let's do this. Okay, you have lost. You're now a Raiders fan. You have lost to the Buffalo Bills, and you need the Bills to lose some games here. Do you root for the Kansas City Chiefs as a Raiders fan?
If I'm relying on the Chiefs to save my season, then it's better luck next year.
Okay.
Well, I'll do whatever it takes.
Same thing as a Chiefs fan. Same thing as a Chiefs fan.
Every team I hate, I'll do that. But, I think the Raiders have maybe a better shot at a wild card. That's, I guess, my point. I still think Kansas City is going to win this division, and then the Raiders need to look other places to get in somehow, and that's why. But actually, you know what? I'm not sure yet. I just hope it's a good game, and I'm looking forward to it. Matter of fact.
All right, Champ. Always a pleasure, sir.
Okay, guys. Take care.
I'll see you. Yeah, that's a great question. And hang on a second. Do we have something that's hooked in? That one's not hooked in. Is that one hooked in? Yeah. Hang on a second.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So you're gonna scoot that down. You're gonna scoot that over, and I think I got both of them because I'm hearing all that stuff. All right. So I'm going to pose the question that I posed to Anthony, and we'll turn this around. If the Browns are playing the Baltimore. Well, not Baltimore. You got to put another. Browns are playing the Chiefs, and you have to rely on. You lost Kansas City earlier in the season. You have to rely on your sworn enemy to kind of do your dirty work in order for you to have a chance to get into the postseason. Could you possibly, as a Steelers fan, root for the Browns on a very rare occasion that could help your team go into postseason?
Could I root for COVID? Is that an option?
Wow.
I mean,
it's really hard to root for the team that you've been geared to hate.
If there's something in it for me, yeah, I'll root for the Browns. I mean, I've rooted for the Browns before. I mean, that was my first ever professional game I went to. My aunt had season tickets, and I was 2 rows from the field in the end zone. So there's pictures on the internet of me in a Browns uniform and a Browns.
They're worth something these days.
I was about 225 pounds, so it doesn't look like me, and I had hair. So
okay, well,
I will claim that it's not really me.
Yeah, there you go. I got to be honest. If someone told me that I had to root for the Patriots in order for my Bills to go to the playoffs, I would probably have to put a lot of.
You would do it in 30 seconds. If I gave you $8 and a donut, you'd do it.
I would probably have to put a lot of repellent on me and bathe about 5 or 6 times after I got done doing it. Because I would feel horribly dirty.
You talk such a big game.
No, I would be.
If
I
I
would be
said,
horribly
hey,
dirty.
I need you to sit out there and watch the Patriots and root for the Patriots, I'm going to give you a free steak dinner.
I wouldn't do it.
You'd do it in a heartbeat, and I know it for a fact.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, big talker.
Since
you're a big talker, what's the spread tonight?
5.5 the last I checked.
Chiefs?
Hang on a second.
Since Steve
is it pretty sickening that I have an odds app on my phone?
Oh, we're about to find out.
Kansas City is a 5.5-point favorite. The over/under on that game was 56. It's down to 55.5.
This is a little $20 bill.
Yeah, that's a $20 bill.
I'm taking the Chiefs.
Okay.
You want to take the Bills? 5.5.
I want to see how many of these kids are healthy. Listen. I mean, that's being a very nice person to figure out.
Did you put your picks out yet, there, big boy?
Not tonight. I haven't. Not tonight. I haven't.
Let's preface this. When we were sitting out before the show, Ron came out and said what?
He said,
I need to start charging.
I need to start charging for my picks.
I did, because I'm hitting 60% of my picks.
And now you got your chance to shut me up right now.
It's not about that.
Well, you got.
I'm 60% accurate on my picks.
You know what's awesome?
No money right now.
$0.
Yeah, exactly, because I don't have any money.
There
you go.
I've picked every championship in the history of championships because I got $0 riding on it. Because I just go, I'm going to pick this team, and then I'm going to pick this team. I'm going to pick this team. That's how it goes. Like, put some cash on it, and you got some swag. You came out, your chest is all puffed out.
I'm just saying, I've picked all of the games, and it's 60%. That's pretty good.
Well, if you put money on it, you'd be a hell of a lot richer.
You're probably right. I would. Now, unfortunately, if you don't have money,
now keep in mind you did put $50 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Little lesson that I've learned: if you don't have money, you shouldn't be betting on things that you don't have. That's
true.
A little lesson that I've learned the hard way, unfortunately. So it is what it is. I'm trying to figure out where the injury report is on everything. If Milano's going to play, if Tre'Davious White's going to play, 5.5 is reasonable.
Is Bell playing tonight? Le'Veon?
No, he has to have like an 8-day COVID.
Oh, okay.
What?
Yeah, you can't join a team until you're from another team, I guess, until you go through like an 8-day protocol for COVID-19.
Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, as far as I'm concerned. With Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, yeah, they're going to use him on third downs. They're going to use him out of the backfield.
Like, wow. I told you that before it happened. I said,
and he has no reason to get in his head because he's already getting paid by the Jets.
Yeah, enjoy.
So he's got no reason to complain. We got him for nothing.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, because the Jets are still flipping the bill for
the Jets are going to be paying
contract
him.
For this year?
Yeah, they're paying him. So, the Kansas City will pay him minimum salary, but all of his money is going from the Jets.
See, I thought it was when they cut you, if somebody else picks you up, they foot the bill. And if you're a free agent, New York has to foot the bill in the guaranteed money.
Something in his contract, I don't know, but I know the Jets are paying for him. So I don't know if we'd get him if we had to buy his contract. With giving Mahomes.
Nothing against James Conner, but man, that would have been nice to have him back in the backfield.
All right, Tre'Davious White is still game time decision with a back injury, and that's huge because without Tre'Davious White, good God, Mahomes might throw for 900 yards tonight. John Brown, Matt Milano, they're questionable, but they should be okay. Dawson Knox is out with a calf injury. Sammy Watkins is out, he's out. He's out with a hamstring injury, so that Buffalo homecoming doesn't happen. Your guard Osmelly is out, and Schwartz is questionable.
And this is in Buffalo.
It's in Buffalo. And I've already checked the weather forecast. It's
so
gonna
really
be
it's
disgusting.
8.5 if you think about it, because home team always gets 3.
I don't have the $20. That's the problem. I mean,
but you could have $20 if you win.
Well,
how much do you believe in your
I
Bills?
understand that, but I'm not betting on something that I don't have the money to do to take care of it. If I had the $20, I'm doing it. You know, again, you can't bet on something that you don't have. I learned my lesson.
I'm just saying, it's if you believed in it. Are you going to pick the Bills? Are you going to pick the Bills?
I mean, the Bills and 5.5.
But that's my whole point. Is if you're going to sit there and pick the Bills, you should feel confident. And there's $20 right there that you should be able to pick up tomorrow.
Again, if I don't have the $20, I'm making an economically stupid decision if I'm wrong. And there's a 40% chance that I'm going to be wrong.
That's called gambling.
Of course it is. That's why I don't do it.
But don't puff your chest out and say that you're the king of 60%.
Hey, listen.
If you're not willing to put your money where your mouth is.
It doesn't matter if I'm willing to put money down or not.
Sure does.
Absolutely it doesn't.
If you say that you should be paid $25 for stuff, yes, it sure does. Because if you're expecting people to cash in, you're either going to end up with a hit out on you, or broken thumbs, or broken knees.
Well, okay.
So my thing is, if you feel sure about these picks, because and listen, I love you. But I'm tired of hearing about it when you don't put any money behind it. Because what happens if you turn to 40 and then 20 is they're just going to go away. They're going to disappear. And you're not going to say anything. But you're going to puff your chest out, put $20 on it, on your bills that you're going to pick later.
Actually, you don't think I'm not going to be doing this in Week 11 and Week 12 when I know the numbers are going to be down below 50?
Well, I'm just saying, Ron, if you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, then I'll never say anything again.
I don't have the money.
Well, then don't puffy chest people here or anywhere else and say that. Because listen,
you pick 60%?
I'm not trying to right now.
Okay. Well,
but I got it right yesterday.
DJ, I can say the same thing about you. Can you pick 60% by picking every single game?
I'm not trying to charge people to do it.
I'm not saying I'm charging people to do it.
What do you say?
I mean, I would love to have people charged to do it because I'm playing that well.
If you're going to do that, you also can't not put money on it.
Then again, the people that do charge, and here's a little gambling tip for everyone: the large services west of the Rockies, they'll pick one team. East of the Rockies, they'll pick another team. Bet you didn't know that.
No, I didn't. But
a national service. National service. I don't even know if this person's still in business or not. West of the Rockies, they would take one team. Anyone who calls in west of the Rockies, they're telling them bet on this particular team. East of the Rockies, they're telling the people east of the Rockies to bet on the other team.
So how did you find this out?
And the argument is, well, you're 50% right. Someone's going to be happy with you. Someone's not going to be happy with you, and then you go from there.
But you're not worried. You're worried about picking winners.
Of course you are.
So you can't split it.
Again, you would think, but you know.
And people are paying for this service?
Yeah, well, that's why I would never pay for any service. That's absurd. I mean, because even if you're supposedly good at this, the average is. Well, let's give everyone the education. This is the reason why you don't gamble, because you have. Whether you're doing it legally or otherwise, you have a service that you have to put on. If it's illegal, you're paying your bookie $1 for every $10 that you gamble. So a $20 gamble, if we were to do this, would actually be a $22 gamble through a bookie, which you would have to do in Ohio because gambling is illegal in the state of Ohio, unless you went down to West Virginia. Now, even in West Virginia, you have a $1 service charge for every $10 bet. So in order for you to break ahead, you would have to be 53% would get you somewhat even, and anything above 53% would get you a profit.
So you have a 7% profit right now on zero.
You would have a 7% profit, and again, that the other part of it is okay. Are you going to be consistently putting X amount of dollars on each game? Or are you going to go, I'm feeling really good about this one. Let me go 50 here, 20 here. We're going to go, I'm not feeling good about this one, 10 here. I mean, it's, again, if you're feeling really good, let's say a Browns fan who was talking, and let's face it, all Browns fans were talking shit the entire week. and then they sit back and go, well, I'm going to put $50 on this game because my Browns, they're kicking everyone's ass and taking names. And all of a sudden, unless you're, even if you're in West Virginia, you just lost $55. So if you're going $20 and you're consistently $20 every single game, 60% is, oh God, there was a number. I'm gonna have to do the math on it, but it's like a 7 to 10% bump up.
So how much Monopoly money have you won?
That's where I don't know. I mean, going into last week, let's run this.
So let me ask you this:
going into last week, 45 victories.
Okay.
At $20, that's $900. 30 losses. So 22, because you have to add $1 for every $10 bet, times 30 is $660. So I would be up $240. If you're betting $20 on every single game, I'd be up $240 right now.
Okay. You can be up $20 if you take your own advice.
Okay, so
bookie. Wait, Anthony will be our bookie.
So hang on a second. So hang on a second. Today's the 19th. 31st is.
What if you just take 20 off his paycheck?
We're not allowed to do that.
That's what I'm going. That's what I'm driving to.
No, you can just pay us separately because we're not. First off, it's illegal to gamble naturally, but a friendly wager, I don't think anybody's going to do this.
But this isn't a friendly wager. You're now technically you're gambling.
No, there's a friendly wager.
Okay. Yeah, I'll jump.
Do it.
Yeah,
all right.
I'll jump.
5.5.
5.5.
So now that everybody knows that I'm not saying boo about it from this point on forward, the $20 if the Bills win, and obviously if they lose by 5, right?
They lose by 5, I'm a winner.
Yep. So
God, I hope Tre'Davious White is healthy enough to play in this game. Because if he's not, I'm screwed out of $20. But yeah, it is what it is.
But you guys
are without Sammy Watkins too. I mean, let me ask you, how important has Watkins been to Kansas City's offense this year? I mean, he's been Hill's. The second banana.
He's got 1 touchdown on the season.
He's gotten some nice catches.
He's got some. I mean, he's an extra weapon. But you got McCole Hardman that's just going to go into his spot. And he's like a Tyreek Hill clone.
And there's no tape on him.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is going to step up today because he's going to put his after Rodgers was awful yesterday.
He didn't start awful. God, after that pick 6, that was turned the lights out on that team.
But now you have
that went sideways in a hurry.
Now it's down to a 2-man race as far as I'm concerned for MVP. It's Mahomes and it's Russell Wilson, and Mahomes wants it. I don't care what he says. I don't care. I mean, got a kid on the way. Daddy wants to be MVP.
All right,
and he needs this game to do it.
Are you completely discounting Josh Allen right now?
You do every day, so why shouldn't I?
Okay.
Poor man's John Elway, right?
Yeah.
You're a Bills fan and you haven't bought into him.
I'm starting to buy into him. I'm starting to.
What would Big Ben have to do to win the MVP? Like if Steelers were 8 wins last year. If he goes 13-3 and puts up the stats he's putting up,
it ain't about MVPs for him anymore. It's about championship. He would have to. I mean, Wilson would have to get hurt. Mahomes would have to basically be on his deathbed, and Roethlisberger would have to still go lights out. And he's having a good year.
Right.
He's still one of the best quarterbacks to throw the ball 40 yards or further statistically. So, and with Chase Claypool, anything's possible. But he is obsessed with Lombardis right now, and he wants to go win 2 more Lombardis and cement his legacy as one of the best of all time. And I think he can do it.
He already is, though. I mean, he's going to go to Canton.
Right. But to be the best quarterback in Steelers history.
He already is.
There's a lot of people that would disagree with you because he hasn't even been to 4 championships yet.
I get that. And let's be honest, and I'm going to probably show an anti-bias of the 1970s and probably shortchange Bradshaw, but it's pretty easy to go to Super Bowls when you have a Hall of Fame running back, 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers, a defense that is second to nobody, including the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens. Maybe not for one season, but for a period of 6 years. That's the best defense I've ever seen.
So let me ask you this question. What you described is Ben Roethlisberger as well. Hall of Fame running back, 2 Hall of Fame potential receivers.
Le'Veon Bell is nowhere near Franco Harris.
Did I say Le'Veon Bell?
Who?
I said Jerome Bettis.
Okay. All right. Bettis toward the tail end of his career and the beginning of Ben's career. All right. The Hall of Fame receiver is...
I think Hines Ward's caliber.
He's not in there yet.
No, but I think
he will be at some point.
Right.
But he's not Swan or Stallworth.
No, and in today's day and age, receivers are their numbers have to be through the roof because it's a passing league.
Of course.
So they all mix in. I mean, I think that Hines Ward, I think that, Santonio Holmes isn't going to get in, but he still has one of the best plays of Super Bowl history.
Let's be real.
Of course.
If Antonio Brown didn't have a mental breakdown, he would be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Antonio Brown's, to me, he's still the best receiver of all time. He really is, and he is.
Best receiver in terms of Steeler?
No, I think he's the best receiver of all time.
Stop that.
I do.
The only thing that stopped him is his mental breakdown. I mean,
Jerry Rice, he is not on that level.
But Jerry Rice would be ordinary right now.
Jerry Rice was doing stuff at 40 years of age. There's guys that in their 20s couldn't do. And that guy was unbelievable.
Disagree. I don't even think that. I think right now, if Jerry Rice played in the NFL, he would be below OBJ.
In his prime?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
No, absolutely not. No.
Remind me who Jerry Rice had as a quarterback.
Well, yeah. I mean, Montana and Young. That's obviously.
How did he do in Oakland?
He did pretty well.
He caught balls, but he didn't get.
Yeah, and again, for a 40-year-old, he did pretty well.
What was the statement you just made about him being a 40-year-old? He'd still be...
He was doing things that kids in their 20s couldn't do.
Like catch a football?
Yeah, catching a pass, getting first down yardage, being the ultimate possession receiver, even though that wasn't his job back in the day. He was more of a deep threat than he was anything else.
Here's the thing, is Jerry Rice was really good because of who he had thrown to. And you can make arguments about Antonio Brown as well. But you look at what Antonio Brown did, the traffics he made, the plays he made in traffic, and his ability to get away and make plays, from a screen pass. I'm taking Antonio Brown.
Okay.
I am. And I think he's, again, to his point, if he doesn't get hit by Vontaze Burfict or whatever shook him loose to go crazy and his mental issues, he is a hands-down Hall of Famer right now, and he's probably still got 5-7 years on his career. And Big Ben throwing to him. So, I mean, he could have, and I'll make a pitch for Calvin Johnson as well, being up there. If his career wasn't, if he had any type of support, that guy would have been out of this world. But he decided, nobody's going to help me out. Nothing's going to change.
He did what Barry Sanders did.
See you later.
Yeah, he did what Sanders did.
Lions are still paying him money.
Yeah, and so that's my thing. Is guys, don't take any disrespect. Guys like you who have seen football since yesteryear, right? And we see it. We see the highlights. That's all we see.
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry Rice is one of the greatest of all time. It's the LeBron versus Jordan, and we all know how that goes. But head and shoulders above is Antonio Brown.
It's not even close.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's not even close in the other direction. It's not even close.
I don't.
Rice is a better route runner, better hands.
False.
Absolutely, it's
False.
true.
How many one-hand catches has that guy made on the sideline with two guys?
He didn't need to.
Exactly.
He didn't need to.
That's the point.
There it is.
Well, just because he didn't need to doesn't mean that he can't.
I'll argue and say right now the defensive backs that are in the NFL would be better receivers than some of the NFL players from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They have better hands. They're more athletic, and they can.
In today's game?
In today's game.
Okay. The DBs of today.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
that are hampered by so many offensive Wade penalties. Like, the rules are so hard for DBs to be good.
I don't think there's any question about that. Yeah, there's no two bones about that.
So what's the argument for you?
The argument for me is in a world in which the receivers get carte blanche every which way because defensive players can't breathe on someone without getting a pass interference call. Yeah, you're going to have numbers that are going to go through the roof. Try playing in Rice's era where you didn't have that, where you didn't have pass. You had to have a running attack in order to win some Super Bowls, or at least a threat of a running attack in order to win some Super Bowls. The numbers go down. No, Jerry Rice is head and shoulders above anybody that's ever played this game in the wide receiving rank. Oh, it's not even close. He's the best. He's the best wide receiver I've ever seen. And I even go back into the 70s when you didn't have anybody. When in an AFC championship game where you only threw the ball 9 times in an AFC championship game, there were guys that were playing back then that have not even close to Jerry Rice's ability. Not even close.
So I guess my argument would be if you've got Jerry Rice, who everything's dependent mostly on a running game, and this is when the West Coast offense first came out, correct?
Yeah.
So teams had to adjust to that. So they had to get better coverage to cover Jerry Rice and the like, whereas it really wasn't available. Now you have like graded out receivers that have to flip over to defense in order to play because you've got their best player is split out to the right, split out to the left. It's not in the backfield anymore.
No, I get that.
So how is it an apples to apples comparison if Antonio Brown's dealing with the best in the world?
They're not, but okay. I mean, they're nice. There's a reason why they're DBs because they can't catch anything.
That's not true.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys do that. I mean, it's
so have I.
They're good cover corners.
That's fantastic.
Good people, but I mean, they're not receivers for a reason. Yeah, they're good.
Well, yeah,
they're
because
good.
they can also lay the lumber. They can also cover a guy. You know how hard it is? It's put in books. It's 10 times harder to cover a guy than it is to run a route.
In today's game, it's harder because you can't breathe on the person without getting in a penalty.
No, because
that's harder because you don't know where the guy's going.
The guy's more athletic. Did you see that double move yesterday that James Washington put on 2 backs?
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to sit there and say, for 5 days, I heard how good Cleveland's defensive backs are.
Well, that was false from the get-go.
Denzel Ward, listen, you and I both know that these Ohio State fans on Saturday are Browns fans majority on Sunday.
Of course.
So all I got to hear is Denzel Ward. And he was a great defensive back. He got toasted like no other by our third best receiver.
Yep.
Because of an unbelievable double move. Out and up.
Yeah.
He's gone. Was there 30-yard separation on that?
I mean, you didn't see him on the screen. That's how bad that was.
So think about that for a minute. That guy is the best.
You didn't think they did double moves back in the 70s?
Not like
and 80s?
they do now.
Oh, come on, stop. I've seen guys do double moves back then.
Have you? I mean, look at the footwork that. I mean, I don't think you're watching that. I think you're watching from this far away. If you watch the footwork of a receiver and you watch the footwork of a running back, because you got to see it on full display yesterday, because James Conner looked like Kareem Hunt was supposed to look, because he looked like he was on a mission. He kept his legs turned, all that stuff. Look at the footwork of a receiver and tell me that you or I or anybody's going to cover that. How difficult it is to keep lockstep with those guys. It's impossible. And these guys do it for 75% of games. Think about how many catches. What's a good day? 6 catches, 90 yards. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you even it out at 16 games, it's 96 catches.
Yeah. So you look at that and you say the DBs do a great job at 70% of the time. Covering. Now,
how many times has that guy been targeted?
I don't know. If he's getting 6 catches, let's say he's targeted 9 times.
Okay.
Right. So you're doing your job. Let's say 70, 80% of the time, and the other 20%, you get beat. And sometimes Antonio, and I don't know the statistics, but I would say Antonio Brown beat his DB more times than not, because probably at an 80 to 90% clip, because of who he is in his hands. And that's going over the middle, that's going deep, you could put him anywhere on the field and have him run any route. And the same goes for Le'Veon Bell. That's why the Chiefs are going to be so scary. Is you got a running back that can run any route that a wide receiver runs.
3 or 4 years ago, I would have agreed with that.
Well,
Le'Veon Bell's lost a step.
No, he hasn't. He lost a team.
He lost a team. He went to the worst franchise.
Okay, I understand that, but you still have to see speed from him, and you didn't see it on film.
What do you want to do? Like, what offensive line did he have?
Well, okay.
What receivers did he have that weren't going to line up 9 guys in a box? Like, that's great. He's got speed when he's in Pittsburgh, and he'll showcase that. Tell me which one's more like Pittsburgh, New York or Kansas City?
What's scary now is Le'Veon Bell is still about the 3rd guy you probably are in your order of who I have to stop.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
So
Kansas City's going to be strong.
You put him in, what's the kid's name, Hilaire?
Yeah.
Put them in the same, split them in the backfield with, by the way, one of the best running quarterbacks in the game.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, they're going to be tough.
What the hell are you going to do?
Yeah, it's going to be tough to stop.
But you don't have to be. To our point, the argument, you don't have to be good receivers. Tyreek Hill's a good receiver. Antonio Brown had to be a great receiver because you had the dude, Martavis Bryant, who we were just talking about out there, who you want to talk about head cases. That guy was berserk. But you want to know, and I hate to go off my point. You want to know where I blame all of this as a Steeler fan? LeGarrette Blount. None of this happened. Le'Veon, Antonio, Martavis, none of this happened until LeGarrette Blount was on our team. And all of a sudden, Bell's getting caught with weed. You got Antonio Brown's driving 150,000 miles an hour down in Pittsburgh. And Martavis Bryant was big into that too. So I'm really interested. Are we getting called?
Yeah, we're in a call. Hey, let's go, Rich. Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's up, brother? Rich, you there? Rich, you there? What in the world? Rich, you there? You're on, bud. What's up? Ah, shoot.
He gone.
He gone. All right.
I think Antonio Brown is a better route runner than Jerry Rice.
Let's try this again.
Hands down.
I would agree with that.
When you look at the routes that he run,
did you guys even see Rice in his prime?
Yeah, I grew up in routes.
What game was that?
Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's up, brother?
Yeah, you lost me in cyberspace there, brother.
Sorry about that, man. What's up?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
How are we?
Man, I'll tell you what, I use that term very loosely, but I love you guys.
No, I appreciate it.
A lot of blowouts in high school football this weekend. Man.
Yeah, and we were talking about this, with the OHSAA wanting to expand to 12 teams next year. We see blowouts in the quarterfinals on a pretty decent clip in the last 10, 12 years. So I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want to get another round of playoffs, but everyone knows it's all about the Benjamins, so it doesn't matter one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to the Harding-Fitch game. That's going to be pretty interesting.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch because I know that Harding has wanted to get revenge, and Fitch has been wanting to play them too. So this will be a fun game.
But a couple teams made the point where it's kind of good to give more people a chance. You look at Salem and what they did against Poland. They didn't win that game, but they proved that they deserved to be there.
They got a sophomore quarterback.
They probably wouldn't have been there in an 8-team playoff.
Well, and we said this, Ron Johnson, give him a week to prepare for a team. Good Lord, that's a lot of that was fun.
There was nobody. I mean, there was a lot of people in the area. I shouldn't say nobody. There was a lot of people in the area that didn't give Salem an even shooter's chance.
Yeah,
and that's. Ron's really good at saying it's us against the world. And, the Poland team that showed up the second half was completely different from the Poland team that showed up in the first. And but this is dangerous for Poland because we've seen this before. A Poland team that feels like people don't give them credit is a Poland team that's the most dangerous team that's going to be out there because they have a history of going on long runs.
Ian O'Brien, who did the filming, did the camera work, and he looks at his phone while we're on commercial break, and he goes, Ron, he says, I don't know if this score is legit. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, Dana Balish has Salem up 21-0, and I'm like, huh?
We watched
it. Well, Dana's normally pretty good with this stuff, so yeah, let's run with it. And we've always put Dana's name whenever we get scores. So I said, hey, Dana Balish tweeting out, and we thanked him for the scores. Salem is upending Poland early on, 21-0. As soon as I said that, Mr. B, the PA announcer at Crestview, went and did the same thing. He went, her?
It's called adjustments, which leads me into my next point, which the Cleveland Browns coaching staff was, they were manhandled. The players were manhandled. No adjustments, I don't think, could have been made against yesterday. That was quite a dominating performance by the Squealers. I got to say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the two losses that the Browns have had, you get a 32-point loss to Baltimore, a 31-point loss to Pittsburgh. And those are your divisional rivals. You got a long way to go. Now, the good news is you play them both times. You do play both teams in Cleveland later in the season, but you got a long way to go before you start talking about this team being equal to those two clubs.
You just nailed it right on. That's the problem. Is all we heard for 4 or 5? No, it was right after Baltimore. Was how good the Browns are going to be.
Yeah.
And it was their guys doing it.
Yeah.
We're going to do this for Myles Garrett. What are you doing for Myles Garrett?
Yeah.
So I'll sign up for that 10 times out of 10 if that's what we're going to see. And you know what? It was the difference between a young quarterback in Baker Mayfield and a veteran quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger in a leadership standpoint. It said, listen, don't put anything out there. Just go and beat their ass and do it on Sunday. And that's exactly what they did, because you saw OBJ talking to fans. You know, what do you have to say when you're getting your ass handed to you in the fourth quarter and you're taking off your clothes like LeBron James on the sideline? Like, what do you have to say? Like, I had flashbacks, and I'm not even a Browns fan. I had flashbacks of when LeBron was taking his jersey off, because if you watch, OBJ has his shirt halfway off, not even showing his numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, he's got his shoes off, and I'm sitting, dude, this is given up. And the Steelers drove Baker out of the game. They drove Garrett out of the game. They drove Jarvis Landry out of the game. Those poor bastard linemen that had to finish it were probably looking around like, what are you guys doing? You know, like we're just as important. We're the top rushing in the NFL, the top leading rushers.
Yeah.
You're telling me that's all Kareem Hunt? Take away those.
Man, I'll tell you what. The Browns got manhandled at every position.
They did.
Make no mistake about it. Now I tell you what. I'm not a Squealers fan by a long shot, but man, they are talented and disciplined, and that comes down to a veteran head coach and coaching staff versus a rookie head coach.
Well, this is, and I've been saying this for a long time, and you know, the fact that Haslam used to be a minority owner of the Steelers. One of the reasons why the Browns fan base was somewhat excited, and I think the more intelligent Browns fans were somewhat excited when Haslam became the owner. Okay, he's coming from a winning culture. I mean, we hate this team. If you're a Browns fan, you hate the Steelers, obviously. But you have to respect greatness. Look, there's a reason why the Steelers have been where they are, and it's the fact that the Rooney family, who didn't know their head from a hole in the ground from 1933 to 1968. Art Rooney Sr. was a moron from 33 to 68, and then he got smart. He said, I can't do this. There's something, I'm not able to do this, so I'm going to hire someone that I believe is able to do this, and I'm going to get the hell out of the way. I'm going to hire Chuck Nolan. He's going to be the guy that's going to run my organization, and I'm just going to walk out of the way and let him do whatever he needs to do in order to get this thing done. Wouldn't you know it? Chuck Noll comes in. Now, under Haslam, a 1-13 season, Chuck Noll might have been given the gates. But Rooney said, no, I committed to this guy. Let's see what he can do. And then they get better in 70. Better in 71, where they almost make the playoffs, but they're kind of teetering. They lost a couple of key games down the stretch. And then 72, bang, they're in the AFC title game. thanks to the Hail Mary, where the Immaculate Reception, which was a clipping penalty and a couple other things, and a trap ball by Franco. Neither here nor there.
No proof of any of that.
73 through 79
It's gonna be
after
the best $20 I ever take tomorrow.
after the AFC title game where they lost to Miami. From 73 to 79, good God, it's like they turned the water spigot on and everything fell out. The bottom line is Rooney had the sense to hire Noel. And then from that point on, okay, we're going to go with Noel. Noel retires. We're going to go with Cowher. We're going to stay with Cowher until Cowher retires. Okay, he's done. Now we're going to stay with Tomlin, and then we're going to stay with Tomlin until Tomlin decides he doesn't want to do this anymore. That's why this franchise is so good, because they don't do anything. They don't make changes when stuff goes bad, like Haslam does. And to get to my point with Haslam in a long roundabout way, when he left the Steeler organization as a minority owner of the Steelers, the more intelligent Browns fans looked at this and said, okay, we're going to have a guy that's going to have a trait of the Steeler organization where we're going to have a guy and we're going to have a plan and we're going to stay with a plan for a certain amount of time. And if the plan doesn't work, then and only then, after a certain amount of time, then and only then do you make a change. What does this clown do? He goes through 5 coaches, 4 general managers, and a bunch of other stuff in the span of 5 years.
Because Browns fans think that this is a Super Bowl contending team.
But they're not.
They haven't been.
No.
But every year, they've got high draft picks. They'd be better off every year going 8-8 and building with a mid-level draft pick and getting top-tier talent. I mean, look, they missed out on Roethlisberger.
Yeah, they did. They picked Kellen Winslow Jr.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, well,
and you look at you.
Isn't he in jail?
He isn't. He loves older women, by the way. No, and we're talking geriatric women, but neither here nor there.
But they just continue to miss because they want to take the popular. When they started taking guys like Johnny Manziel, when they started taking, I mean, Tim Couch was, I mean,
Tim
it doesn't
Couch
look
was
good.
a great pick.
It's a good pick, but Cleveland expected in '99 they expected to contend right away.
They put the horse before they put the cart before the horse. They didn't have an offensive line. I mean, you could have very easily gotten a quarterback in 2003 once your line was set up. You put this guy in front of a nickel offensive line, and he's got flashbacks of getting destroyed even with no defensive guys around him. There was the iconic picture of Couch going down to the ground, and there isn't a defensive lineman within 5 yards of him. But he heard something, and he immediately went to the ground. That was just...
I knew yesterday was going to be bad for Cleveland when I turned on Fox. I turned on CBS, and everybody was doing stories about the Browns.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this didn't work out well the last time whenever they were picked to win the Super Bowl, right? You got Baker Mayfield walking a bunch of pit bulls on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and, you know, they're picked to win the Super Bowl. Like, why? They haven't made the damn playoffs. How are they going to win the Super Bowl all of a sudden?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen that often.
Nope.
So
you gotta walk before you run, and the Browns they were crawling, and the walking is becoming a playoff team.
I'm gonna ask you an honest question: has Baker Mayfield won Cleveland more than one game since he's been the starter?
His rookie year.
His rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a Mayfield fan.
No,
I mean,
but I'm asking because you can't quarterback at some point. Like they obviously the Steelers sold out for the run yesterday.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield's got to step. Like when Case Keenum came in, they had guys wide open.
Yep.
He looked worse. I'll give him that. Case Keenum looked worse than Baker.
Yeah.
I didn't think he looked worse. I thought he looked just the same. I thought it was the same guy. I actually looked at my wife and I said, Baker just changed out his jersey because it was too dirty for him.
My wife is clueless about football. We were watching a game yesterday. She goes, "What are these guys doing?" I'm like, "Well, this is Baker's. This is Baker's make or breakout year." But I got news for you. Patrick Mahomes couldn't have won that game yesterday with the way we got beat up.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's. I said this to a couple of people yesterday. It's with Mayfield. Mayfield has to have a good running attack. in order for him to be a reasonably good quarterback. He can't put the entire game on his shoulders. It's just he can't do it.
You want to see what the Browns look like with a better quarterback? Look at the Baltimore Ravens. That's exactly what the Browns should look like right now. Lamar Jackson.
I'm still not sold on him, but you got a point. Let's don't forget we skipped Ben Roethlisberger in the draft.
No,
so
yeah, we brought that up, and you also skipped. Well, I mean, it's a long list of
Ohio guy.
list of quarterbacks that have been skipped.
And I thank you every day for skipping Ben Roethlisberger in that draft
Yeah.
because otherwise we have Phil Rivers, and I want to kill myself.
You are a dog. We also skipped Bruce Smith and Darryl Talley for Mike Junkin. So there you go.
Well, hang on, because Bruce Smith was the first pick overall for the Bills, not the Browns pick. So
okay,
yeah, you weren't going to get Bruce Smith. That was probably the first of many wonderful things the Bills did in the god awful mid '80s that they were able to hang their hat on, and that turned into a championship caliber team in the early '90s.
Just remember, everybody, 31 teams, 32 teams really, 6 times over, missed out on Tom Brady.
This is true. This is true.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Tom Brady gives his older sister, who was bigger and stronger than him, accolades because he said she was a better athlete. That's pretty scary. Okay, on a note of Major League Baseball, that was quite a game last night.
Yeah, it was. It was. Man, I thought the Braves had it, and the Dodgers just kept fighting, and they get the trip to the series. Honest to God, this is going to be a fun series. I mean, I don't even know who has the advantage at this point.
All 7 people watching are going to be riveted.
Well,
even though it was the 7th inning, that home run, it was a walk off.
Oh yeah, it was the Braves. The Braves got knocked to the canvas. They weren't getting up. This is going to be a fun series, but to your point, DJ, it's the ratings are going to.
It's going to be the worst rated Major League or World Series of all time.
It'd be worse if it was Braves Rays, though. I think
it would be worse if it were Braves Rays.
But
at least you get the second largest market. That's going to be.
Yeah, but in a year that they just won the NBA title, they're still got a little bit of a hangover going.
Yeah, but
they're going to go.
Let me fill you in on something. The people out in Los Angeles, this is all Dodgers now. This is the people in LA. They love their Dodgers. You'll get enormous numbers in Los Angeles. I just don't know anywhere else because let's be honest, Tampa Bay is an afterthought.
But isn't the Lakers Los Angeles' first love?
Not necessarily.
I would disagree with that.
I think so.
There is a lot of Dodger fans out there.
So you're telling me there's less Laker fan than there are Dodgers?
I'm not saying there's less, but I don't think that there is a huge difference between the two.
Well, if memory serves, this was one of the worst rated NBA Finals of all time.
Well, let's also throw in the caveat that this is all the players' fault for doing what they've done to turn off most of America.
Wasn't that your pitch to Major League Baseball for about 4 months?
No, I never told them to go to throw out all the crap about Black Lives Matter and whatnot.
No.
That's the reason why the NBA ratings went into the toilet.
But you've approached this from a different way, where this is Major League Baseball's fault because the shortened season, and this because they wouldn't sign the contract, they wouldn't even just go play, da. And I think that's the ratings have been terrible for Major League Baseball.
They have been. I'll see let's see what the World Series brings. I mean, there's some interesting storylines. I mean, you got a team that doesn't spend any money against a team that spends all kinds of money.
And in any other year, I think that's a great thing. But in any other year, I don't think it happens. So you might have a point there, but I just don't think people are going to watch. I think people, especially with football, who the hell knows what night football's on anymore?
Yeah, no kidding.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, what the heck is going on?
And they still kill whatever.
They annihilate it. But that's what happened.
What were the numbers like for the Tennessee Buffalo game? I'm curious.
Look him up.
Yeah, that's.
Tuesday night, what were you going up against? Murphy Brown?
Murder, She Wrote.
you know, guys. A couple more observations. That kid that plays tight end for the 49ers, Kittle is his name.
Kittle.
What a badass.
Yeah. I'm wondering if he's related to Ron Kittle, the former White Sox badass of the
All
early
I
80s.
know,
Big old boy.
All I know is this kid moves like a wide receiver, and he's built like Gronk. I mean, this kid is a force.
Yeah, he's a big boy. No two ways about it.
Second observation, and I'll close up with this, guys. Thanks for the vine. I was watching that MLB last night, and the size of the pitchers on today's game, starters, relievers, closers. Oh, my God, Ron. I'm looking at Ron Guidry. He looked like a twig. Looking at Eckersley and all them guys. They couldn't even come close in this league now.
Well, I mean, as far as size, of course, because back then you didn't lift weights back then. That was completely taboo.
12 ounces at a time. That's about all you got.
Yeah, I mean, the only weightlifting, like DJ said, is guys drinking beer in the clubhouse. That was it. You didn't lift weights at all. Aaron, Mays, they were twigs compared to the kids of today.
That goes into go ahead.
These kids are huge.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's amazing to watch these guys. They look like bodybuilders when they come out there. The shortstop from L.A.
Seager.
Oh man,
he's
awesome.
big. Yeah, he's 6'4", and he goes about 2 1/4, something like that. I mean, he's built like a friggin' tight end instead of a shortstop. It's crazy.
But that's the thing. I mean, you look at these pitchers. I mean, you're 60 feet 6 inches away. Now, would you rather have a guy like me at 5'4" and can't stride to save his life, or do you want a guy that's Randy Johnson-esque? And even Randy had problems, with gliding. These guys are on you. Like, you have a guy that's 6'7" and 240 pounds throwing downhill at you. All of a sudden, it looks like he is on you. Like he's going to tackle you. And they've got wingspans of this room. Of this room, they can touch wall to wall, and all of a sudden you're almost getting slapped in the face with their toss. So it's unbelievable. Yeah, and then you got Jose Altuve. We were watching the Astros game. Last Friday? What was it?
Yeah, Friday.
And I looked around the room and I said, "Hey guys, just a little FYI, that's what I would look like in the box. Just a little size comparison."
Yeah.
He couldn't eat peanuts off the catcher's head. Like, you sit there and you look at it, like the catcher's almost taller than he is. And I'm like, my goodness, I'm thankful that I never got the shot, because I would look like a Lego guy in the batter's box.
Hey, you can look like a Lego guy, but if you hit 300, it don't matter. I mean,
that's true. That's true, and I'm a Jose Altuve and an Astros somewhat fan. Since I'm a Pirate fan, I can be fans of whoever I want.
Well, but you're not a fan of a major league team, so you can be a fan of
You're going to sit there with that Bill shirt on and tell me that?
Hey, I went to the playoffs. My team has gone to the playoffs in 2 of the last 3 years.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, they got their ass kicked in 2 of the last 3 years, but they've gone to the playoffs in 2 of the last 3 years.
Well, I did that in 2014, 2013, whatever that was.
14, 15, and 16.
Yeah, we got buzzsawed.
At least you won a wild card game.
Best game I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, my God. And it was probably the only time where I saw a pitcher physically shit himself. And he did physically crap himself.
But he'll never admit to it.
No, but you can tell by the uniform when he left the game. You can see this big old Browns. I mean, he did. He shit himself. There's no two ways about it.
By the way, can we?
And unless he put pine tar up his ass, he shit himself.
Can we ask Browns fan, right? On the phone,
Rich. You're a Browns fan.
Okay.
You know what? On a final note, guys, being as I got the vine, it was about 10 years ago. I lived in an apartment complex over near the Poland Struthers area, and a guy 2 doors down played for the Montreal Expos minor league team. That's when Randy Johnson, I believe Jim Ray Hart, I believe that was it. He was naming all these names, and he was a pretty great hitter. Looking back at his stats, his name was Charles. I won't give his last name. I said, "Why didn't you make it?" He said, "Well, I blew my knee out, but the slowest guy on the team could beat me." this is the talent level we're looking at when we get into pro sports.
Look, I mean, if you go into the minor leagues, it's an accomplishment. You get out of the minor leagues and go into the major leagues, it doesn't even matter if you're the 25th best player. You get to the major leagues, that is one hell of an accomplishment, because it's one thing to get in. Rich, it's one thing to get into the minors. That's an accomplishment in of itself. If you get through the quagmire of minor league baseball and survive the fishbowl where everyone and their brother is kicked out of baseball before they get to the major leagues, whether you have an injury problem, you're not good enough, you've pissed off management to the point where they don't want you anymore, or any other variety of reasons. If you can get from the bottom rung of minor league baseball to major league baseball, I will argue this until they bury me. That is the greatest accomplishment that you can possibly have in sports. To go from the minors to the major leagues, that is a ridiculous accomplishment that very few people appreciate.
In any of the top sports, in Major League Baseball, if there's 600 players that could accomplish where they're at, that's pretty amazing. Out of hundreds of thousands that tried,
a ton of people have tried, and you only get a certain amount every single year. Oof, crazy.
Anyway, I'm turning guys on in Florida to WYSN Sports.
Hey, boy.
There you go. There you go. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right,
buddy.
Rich.
Hey, thanks for the Vine.
See you, man. Yeah, that's maybe it's because I've spent too much time in the minors and saw a lot of kids who had ridiculous ability didn't even sniff the majors.
You were in the minors?
I was in 12 years.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
How did I figure that out?
I don't know. Maybe I've said it too many times.
God.
I've seen too many kids that were incredibly talented, but they weren't talented enough.
I think there's a little bit of bias there. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think it's incredible that anybody makes it professionally in sports. I mean, you look at, just from a Division III standpoint, Division III, 2, and 1, 7% of high school athletes make it.
Oh, of course.
You look at the NBA, the roster is a lot smaller.
Yeah, absolutely.
2% make Division I.
Yep.
And 2% of that go pro.
Yeah.
So anybody that makes a professional roster, I don't even care if you're on the practice squad, you are the elite of the elite.
Absolutely.
So like baseball, I mean any sport, any professional sport, you are the elite of the elite. So to single out baseball, like especially with so many minor leagues and things like that, to stay in it, they get extra chances. You look at football, when you're done with college football, there's really, especially now with no XFL,
unless you're Kurt Warner.
Yeah, you've got very little chance and opportunity to get back in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because basketball, you've got the
G League.
G League.
You got overseas.
Yeah,
you can play overseas. Kendrick Perry from YSU is playing overseas.
So you got football. That's, I mean, once you're done, you have very little opportunity to get back in the game.
Unless you go up to Canada, eh?
Canada.
Yeah, you go to Canada.
Yeah, but we see
League.
We see the tier of football that they play up there because Johnny Manziel was a hit for about 3 weeks. So just put it in perspective.
Yeah, Warren Moon also played up there.
Yeah,
did a pretty nice job.
Still fun to watch.
Come to the NFL and played pretty well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to love when we had the Thunder here. I love indoor arena football. It was fun.
What are the end zones
knocked into the stands? That's just awesome.
What are the end zones in Canada? They're like 25 yards long.
Yeah, and then if you punt into the end zone, that's like a point. And at like a field goal, like even if you miss, if you get it past the uprights, they give you a point. It's
ridiculous.
There's some weird rules.
There could be some Hall of Fame players in the NFL with kickers that punt. I'm going to punt it in the end zone. Yeah. Give me a point.
There's a lot of confusion with punters when they come over.
Yeah.
And there's only I feel like there's only 3 downs because people punt on third down.
Yeah, it's
Browns would score a lot of points.
You don't get fourth down in the CFL. It's only third. You first and second to get 10 yards. If you don't make it, you got to kick.
Why can't they do anything right up there?
I just like seeing receivers get a head start. That's kind of cool to see.
Yeah. All I know is hockey is their sport up there, and I'll go into the announcement that was made this morning that just blew my mind. Doc Emmerich is done as the hockey broadcaster for NBC. He's retiring, and I made this comment, and I don't know, we'll see if you'll agree with this because we don't agree very often. Doc Emmerich is to hockey what Vin Scully was to baseball.
100%.
And it's just, you can't fill that void. It's okay. Next person up, but you're good luck with you trying to even think about being on that level, because you're not going to do it.
I'll put this out there. Obviously, I have a 4-year degree from Westminster. I don't hide it in broadcasting. I've worked at the competition here locally from a media standpoint, television. I've worked radio. I learned more from Doc Emmerich just listening to him talk about his craft, and he doesn't shy away from it. The one time I learned the most, and I'll always remember this every broadcast I go into, even though I can't do it, it's when he is announcing, he doesn't use the same phrase twice. Think about how much passing goes on in hockey, and he never uses the same phrase twice in a broadcast. So, moves it, shuffles it, all these different verbs and adjectives and that he uses. First off, you have to do what he does, and hockey moves so fast. And the only thing we have to compare it to right now with no hockey is volleyball.
Oh.
To not use the same verbiage twice in a game is incredible. You've got to be sharp as a tack up here, but you also have to have it here to be able to. And it's not like he's got a thesaurus for pass, sitting next to him going, oh, this. Like, it is incredibly hard to do. And I learned that, tried it, failed, but that was the biggest thing is he keeps you enticed because he doesn't ever give you what we call in the business is white noise. He's not going to sit there and be like, passes the puck, because that gets annoying.
Yeah, of course.
At home.
Yeah.
And he's done a very good job of painting the picture. Yep. Because a game that Doc Emmerich does, you can close your eyes, even as it's on television, and you know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
That's why the best announcers always come from radio and make the transition over to television. In the day and age now, producers, directors don't want that. They want somebody
they want their
that
TV experience
looks
guys.
good,
Yeah.
Talks well, maybe guys that played even, and it's a shame because guys, listen, I'll always be the guy that they wouldn't let it in the living room because I'm the kind of guy you want to have a beer with. So at the end of the day, that's fine. That's why we're here. But Doc Emmerich was a big reason of why YSN is here today.
Yeah, he's the best. There's nobody comes remotely close, and he is to hockey what Vin Scully is to baseball.
I got to go. I agree with you, so I want that on record.
Go set up the timer. Hey, we are recording, so it's good.
Wait a second. We just had a walk-off moment there. That's good. And I'll gladly take my $20 tomorrow. Buffalo minus 5.5. Well, if Tre'Davious White is not playing, oh shit. Yeah, I'm in a world of hurt if that's the case. But I like my chances, or at least as long as Tre'Davious White is healthy. The weather's going to be crappy in Buffalo tonight.
How mad are you going to be if Mahomes scores a late touchdown to break that? Like they're up by
3. I know. Disgusting. It's just disgusting. Yeah. We'll see what happens. All right. 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit to wrap it up. I saw what you did with your little Chiefs moving that thing up and down. It's okay. I see what you're doing. We're back in a bit. Stick around. More to come.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before. But 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plan still meets your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Welcome back to the final segment of a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you in my Bills garb. Anthony Hardwig in his Chiefs garb. We have this for a reason. Buffalo is playing Kansas City today.
In about 2 hours.
Yes, 2 hours and 15 minutes, or 13 minutes, give or take a couple of minutes. And we don't have this game on CBS, believe it or not. This would normally have been a Jim Nantz, Tony Romo type of game.
It was scheduled for Thursday night, so it would have been on Fox with Joe Buck.
Well, I know, but if normal circumstances, it's a CBS game where Nantz and Romo would be doing the game, and let's be honest, it would have been a more competitive game than the game that we saw Nantz and Romo do yesterday, without any hesitation. This one goes to Fox, so Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Aaron Andrews are going to be making the trip to Orchard Park. Weather forecast, and I saw this in about 4 hours ago. So let me update the weather forecast for Orchard Park, New York, and I love doing this because the weather app that we have from the Weather Channel is fantastic. It is currently 50 degrees in Orchard Park, New York, under cloudy skies. There will be no rain in the 5 o'clock hour. Rain will start to fall 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought we were going down that road.
Yeah, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rain. 53% chance of rain in the 5 o'clock hour, 51 degrees. 66% chance of rain in the 7 o'clock hour, 50 degrees. 65% chance of rain in the 8 o'clock hour, 50 degrees. The first hour of the game, only a 17% chance of rain. God, I love this app. It's going to be in the low 50s. As far as the wind is concerned, 6 mile an hour coming from the southwest. In Buffalo, the stadium goes north-south. So whoever is going toward the scoreboard, which is going to be right to left as you watch the TV, that team will have the wind to their back, and it's not much of a wind. It's like 6 miles an hour. This is not a typical Orchard Park type of day wind-wise, because wind-wise it's normally 15, 20 miles an hour, and it's ugly up there. But it's going to be rainy, so maybe I don't know. It might be rainy. Yeah, well, it won't be the first hour. It probably will around the second quarter to the end of the game.
I'll just point out that it was rainy and muddy in the Monday Night Football game between the Rams and the Chiefs 2 years ago, and that didn't affect either offense one bit.
No. And I felt when I read this on the break, I felt like there was a chance that I was going to get my $20. Both the Bills and the Chiefs are coming off not just straight up losses, but against the spread losses. Buffalo has not lost a consecutive game against the spread since week 7 and 8 of last year. Now I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is pretty good. I'm actually feeling pretty good about this investment that I got bullied into. Until I read the Chiefs, then they haven't lost consecutive games against the spread since week 5 and week 6 last year. So that kind of went, yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's 5.5 points. It tends to be the magic number that favors the team that is the underdog, not necessarily to win the game outright, but it's I think there's a number, the teams that are 5 and 5.5 point underdogs cover 58, 59% of the time, but they don't win outright that often, maybe 20, 25, 30% of the time. But they win against the spread 58, 59% of the time. I mean, look, if Tre'Davious White plays, I'm going to be a whole lot more happy about being bullied into $20. If Tre'Davious White doesn't play, this is going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night.
I wore my starter coat from the 1990s. This one's for Joe.
Let's hope that "This One's for Joe" went about as far as "This One's for Miles." The talk that was yesterday.
No, funny thing about it, because that was like 1994, right?
It was the end of the Bills' run. It was January of '94, the end of the '93 season.
I remember little Anthony was so excited after that comeback in Houston to get to that point.
Yeah.
And you could just, because we were watching it, with Chiefs fans, you could tell as soon as Montana went down, the whole room knew.
Yeah.
And even little Anthony could tell.
Yeah.
This is done.
Yeah.
This is done.
I was at the game, and my seats were 18 rows from the field. And if you drew a straight line, I was right at the point where Montana's head hit the turf. You could hear. And look, 80,000 people in Buffalo, or close to 80,000. Back then, it was there. They had more seats. Close to 80,000. And this place was jam-packed to the rafters. Everyone was just losing their mind. That place is loud. Not Arrowhead Stadium loud, but it's loud when that place is, when it was packed originally. Now it seats 70,000, if that. They tore some seats out to get more suites in, to get more money for the organization. you could hear Montana's head hit that turf. You could hear it. And I was just like, okay, he's not playing after that. I'm surprised his helmet didn't split.
That pretty much ended his career.
Oh, yeah, absolutely
That was the last nail. And it wasn't his ribs.
And it wasn't...
Because that whole season, it was protect Montana's ribs at all costs.
And it wasn't a malicious hit at all.
No,
it was a clean hit, and he got hit so hard his head went backwards. And as he was put to the turf, you could hear the thunk, and I'm like, oh damn, he's not getting up from that.
At that point,
and he wasn't.
At that point, it was just start Marcus Allen.
Yeah, and that was the end of that. Yeah. Now, obviously, you don't wish injury on anybody.
That's when my little Anthony went from a Chiefs fan for the next 10 years. I was a Packers fan until.
So you're telling me you're a front runner?
I was a Packers fan all the way through the 90s. Little Anthony was a front runner, absolutely.
Okay.
I have the Chiefs head in my closet from back then. I have a Reggie White autographed pennant. I have a Brett Favre poster.
That.
Yeah. So I was diehard Packers up until, I don't know, 2000, 2001 when the Chiefs were good again.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
You know what? I lived through hard years with the Chiefs. So
hey, listen, that's...
I grew up and I grew out of the front runner stage. But little Anthony, kids are front runners.
Yeah.
No shame about it.
Oh,
I love Brett Favre.
What was it?
More than John Madden did.
This must have been 70 or 71 year. My great grandfather used to bet me in a game, and I don't remember doing this, but apparently I would say, okay, I'm not going to take this team. I want your team in the second half. And it would drive him nuts, but I don't remember doing that. But no, I guess now that explains a few things about me now. Looking back on that, look, I mean, I think Buffalo has a chance as long as they're healthy. If Milano's not playing, if Tre'Davious White's not playing,
well, you know what? Both teams are banged up. Let's just go.
Yeah, and it should be fun. It should be a good time. So
sorry, Colin.
We'll go from there. All right, that's it. Power Hour's coming up next. They got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of stuff on the horizon. Power Hour coming up next. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. We'll talk tomorrow. You've been listening to a Monday edition of Running Point